Chapter 1 Chapter 1 Hyuga. The scorching sun was in the sky, and the cicadas were singing everywhere. In a classical and luxurious Japanese garden, a child, about 4 or 5 years old, was standing upright in the center of the yard, striding his horse, punching out punch after punch, hitting the void, causing muffled noises in the yard. This child's complexion is different from ordinary people's. It is pale and lacks vitality, a little bluish, but it looks a little translucent under the sun, and the hair color is also like the skin color, which looks bluish. What is even more eye-catching is the pair of blue and white pupils. These pupils are a bit scary at first glance, but against the backdrop of these handsome and heroic features, they have a strange handsomeness and beauty. Heavy panting came out of his nose, and sweat wet the ground under Ryosuke's feet like raindrops. This land is the family land of the Konoha clan, the Hyuga clan, and here is the residence of the Hyuga clan. As a person in the branch house, the reason why Ryosuke can stand here is because of his talent, and because of his marriage, becoming the head of the Hyuga family. The son-in-law of Hyuga Hayashi. Ryosuke, who became Hyuga Hinata's adopted son-in-law. Mr. Ryosuke. A faint voice sounded in the courtyard, and the hinged door was pulled open. A girl with the same bluish-white pupils as Hyuga Ryosuke came out of the room. She was holding a plate of watermelon carefully in her hand, standing nervously on the wooden aisle, wanting to say something, but knowing whether it would disturb him, she hesitated all the time. Stopping, Hyuga Ryosuke looked at the nervous girl gently. Do you want, let me rest for a while? Knowing what she was thinking, the girl nodded gratefully. Father said that you are still young and your body is not fully developed, so you can't practice excessively. I know. Listening to the girl's instructions amusedly, Hyuga Ryosuke obediently walked over and sat down with her on the porch to rest. Thanks. Reaching out his hands to take a slice of watermelon from the girl, Hyuga Ryosuke thanked him. The pretty girl in front of him is his future daughter-in-law, Hyuga Hinata, the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan. But this eldest lady really has no temper at all. Facing him as a child foster husband, he was very humble. Under his beautiful and well-behaved face, his character seemed a little cowardly and timid. But that is also within Ryosuke's known range. The reason why my daughter-in-law is so timid in character is because she is the head of the Hyuga clan, but she has no talent as a ninja, which has disappointed her father Hyuga Hayashi time and time again. As for why Ryosuke is so clear, it is because he is a time traveler. Beneath this immature appearance, he has a mature soul inside. Hyuga Ryosuke's soul comes from otherworld, and the ninja world he is in now was actually the content of a comic in his previous life. And in that comic, he didn't exist in all the plots. He is a outsider, an anomaly. Mr. Ryosuke. It seems that because Hyuga Ryosuke's eyes stayed on her for a long time, Hyuga Hinata bit her lower lip lightly, and spoke anxiously. Sorry, because little Hinata looks so cute. Hyuga Ryosuke said apologetically, but there was a smile on his face, and he wasn't embarrassed at all. Well. The sudden compliment made Hinata a little dazed, and he thought about the words just now in his mind seriously, and couldn't help becoming more nervous inside. I actually. After holding back for a long time, she didn't even say her humble words. This was the first time she was praised by her peers. In the past, those children in the village would all laugh at her appearance and her eyes. But there's one thing I've been curious about. Sitting on the porch, looking at the little girl's flushed face, Hyuga Ryosuke stretched out his free palm and gently stroked her hair. Hinata, do you know what husband-in-law means? You know me. What kind of relationship is it with you? The tone is very gentle, and the actions are also very gentle. Feeling the feeling of the warm palm touching his head, Hinata said in a daze, Father. Father said, I am your wife, and I will listen to your words in the future and stay by your side all the time. Involuntarily, she moved her body a little closer to Ryosuke so that his palms wouldn't have to be so tiring. It looks like little Hinata doesn't understand our relationship at all. This answer was basically expected, but it still made Hyuga Ryosuke a little helpless. Then if you know and understand the relationship between us in the future, you should explain it to me carefully. It is good. A faint answer sounded, and the person seemed dazed, not sure if she heard it clearly. The two sat quietly. After eating the watermelon in his hand, under Hinata's disappointed eyes, Hyuga Ryosuke withdrew his palm. Hinata, please go and invite father over, I have something to talk to him about. Father. When mentioning this person, Hinata hesitated, but nodded obediently and got up. The father in Hyuga Ryosuke's mouth is Hyuga Hayashi, the patriarch of the Hyuga clan. Reborn into this world, Ryosuke, as a member of the Hyuga branch house, should have been branded as a caged bird and become a tool to protect the clan's bloodline. But relying on his special ability, after he was born, he showed talents and abilities far beyond ordinary branch houses, and opened his eyes of extremely high purity. So, after his mother died, he was adopted as an adopted son by Hyuga Hayashi as an orphan. After Hyuga Hayashi's second daughter was born, his identity became Hinata's husband-in-law, the man who became the future head of the family, and became the real head of the family. Hinata leaves, leaving only Hyuga Ryosuke in the quiet courtyard. He didn't get up to continue exercising, but with the surge of chakra in his body, several blue veins popped up near the blue-white pupils on his face. Opening his white eyes, he glanced around the nearby main house through his penetrating and clairvoyant eyes, and confirmed that there were no unnecessary peeps, then retracted his eyes and waited for Hyuga Hayashi's arrival. Has it only reached about 1/3? There is no change from the observation a week ago. It seems that it has nothing to do with the time and intensity of the practice. Taking advantage of this time, Ryosuke observed the progress in his mind like an experience bar. The progress bar in his head is Hyuga Ryosuke's special ability, and it is also the reason why he has a superhuman physical ability far beyond his peers. It can be called a limiter, or a gene lock. This is the name he gave this progress bar, because there is no manual for this thing, and everything has to be explored by oneself. As a reborn who is familiar with the plot, Ryosuke knows very well that this ninja world is not simple. Fighting and killing is definitely a daily routine, and it may even be a few years later. After the ostracized yellow-haired boy in the village graduates, apart from fighting and killing, their peaceful village in the ninja world will also ushered in one devastating blow after another. If he is content with the status quo, then there is a high probability that he will not be able to die well. And if he wants to have the ability to protect himself or even change the crisis when there is a crisis, the first thing he needs to figure out is how to use this experience bar. From discovering the experience bar to now, Ryosuke has tried many methods. For example, eating a lot, or medicated baths, or even photosynthesis, but obviously, this experience bar has nothing to do with the nutrients ingested by the body. And recently, he started from the intensity and time of practice training, but unfortunately, after a week, the growth rate of this experience bar is still the same as before. In other words, this experience bar has nothing to do with the strength of the body, or the amount of chakra. So, can we just quietly wait for time to pass, until it reaches 100% by itself? Ryosuke pondered. Now the progress bar has only gone 1/3 of the way, and in the 4 years of rebirth, this progress bar has been completed once, reaching a 100% level. At that time, after the progress bar was finished, his body seemed to have opened some kind of restriction, evolution, and changes occurred, and a certain level of life was improved. Originally the thin blood of the branch house has been promoted, possessing a purity beyond that of the main family, and opened eyes that are different from the Hyuga clan. The pale complexion and hair color on his body are enough to prove that the concentration of his blood is far beyond what the Hyuga family can detect. As a reborn person, the changes in his body clearly tell Ryosuke that he has returned to his ancestors. The source of this power today is from the Tsutsuki clan. As one of the 2 major families of Konoha, Hyuga has a pupil art that has been passed down for thousands of years and inherited from Tsutsuki. Since they belong to that family, the ability of Baiyan would naturally not be weak. At least, not ordinary, only applicable to body skills and sensory exploration. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Chapter 2 Two Things Father. Footsteps sounded in the room behind him, and Hyuga Hayashi with a serious face came to the courtyard. And beside him, there is the little Hinata who keeps her head down. Listen to Hinata, do you need me for something? Looking blankly at Ryosuke standing in the courtyard, Hyuga Hayashi's gaze contained a hint of admiration. He is very satisfied with this son-in-law. Whether it is the child's personality or his talent as a ninja, he is a little proud. Of course, the most important point is that the reason for him to abandon the old rules of the clan is because the child's blood has returned to his ancestors. Yes, father, there are mainly 2 things. Looking at the serious father-in-law in front of him with a soft face, Hyuga Ryosuke said easily, the first thing is about the knowledge of human meridians and various acupuncture points. Gentle fist standards. Oh. Hyuga Hayashi was a little surprised. But apart from accidents, there were not too many questions and inquiries. He took a few steps forward to the ground and stood in front of Ryosuke. Now I will test you personally, and hit me with all my strength, no matter what method, as long as it shows that you have enough foundation to learn gentle fist, you will be considered pass. Ordinary people, even if they come from a wealthy family and have mastered the method of chakra extraction, but once they do not meet the practice standards physically and mentally, they cannot successfully extract chakra. For example, the children of the Hyuga family usually start to get in touch with chakra at the age of 6, and then after a year of practice to extract chakra, they start to learn gentle fist, because their physical fitness is basically polished at this age. As for the ninja school, the general enrollment standard is also for children in this age group. Even the more gifted ones, like Hyuga Niji, the son of his younger brother Hyuga Hisashi, or Uchiha Itachi, the Uchiha clan, didn't learn how to be a ninja until they were 5 years old. But Hyuga Ryosuke is different. Although he is only 4 years old, he is the only genius in the long history of the Hyuga family who returned to his ancestors in blood, and genius cannot be judged by common sense. Across from him, facing Hyuga Hayashi who wanted to test him, Ryosuke put his hands behind his back, hesitated and asked, "Can I really make a free shot?" "Father." "When?" Hyuga Hayashi nodded, just planning to let him shoot with all his strength, without worrying about his identity. But as soon as he spoke, Ryosuke suddenly disappeared in front of his eyes. At the moment when Hyuga Hayashi answered distractedly, his leg muscles exploded at that moment, and in the next second, he suddenly appeared in front of Hyuga Hayashi. Call the gust of wind brought by the high-speed movement made a sound, and a palm mixed with chakra was struck from his hand. The benefit of height brought by the young body is unbiased, so that this palm can just hit Hyuga Hayashi's abdomen. And from the beginning to the end, the smiling expression on Hyuga Ryosuke's face has not changed. Is it positive? Although it was through verbal interference and then a sneak attack, Hyuga Hayashi is also the patriarch of the clan after all, and was once a genius of their class. The moment Ryosuke exerted his strength, he had already calculated where he would strike, but such an above-board palm still made him feel a little disappointed. But it is also understandable, after all, he is still a child. But the next moment, Hyuga Hayashi's expression changed slightly. When the palm that was already ready to block was raised and touched Ryosuke's palm, he didn't feel any substantial physical contact. This is a clone. Not good. Although there are thousands of thoughts in the mind, the fight is only in the blink of an eye. Hyuga Hayashi didn't have time to turn his head, and felt a sudden sharp pain from the Teizui point on his back. Boom! A dull beating sound sounded from his body. Immediately afterwards, he was pushed out by a huge force behind him, flew out like a cannonball, passed through the phantom of Hyuga Ryosuke's clone, and hit a tree in the courtyard directly. Boom! The big tree was knocked off, and the ground roared, and the dust scattered in the courtyard like a mist. Where Hyuga Hayashi was originally standing, Ryosuke retracted his palm with a gentle smile on his face. Those enviable white eyes had already opened without knowing when. Father! The scene that happened in the blink of an eye made Hyuga Hinata, who was watching the battle, a little dazed, and it took her a while to shout out nervously. But just as he was about to run over, he was stopped by Ryosuke. "Don't worry, I'll do it properly." He stopped where he was, and scanned the dust with a pair of white eyes. He had already seen through Hyuga Hayashi who stood up unharmed inside. "Property? I don't think you have enough strength to attack just now." There was no trace of anger, but a joyful voice sounded from the dust. Slowly walking out of the dust with his hands behind his back, Hyuga Hayashi's gaze was full of appreciation. "Did you set a trap for me by taking advantage of my ignorance that you have already mastered the clone technique? Very good fighting awareness. Although I have a sense of proportion, it doesn't mean I will spare some strength." Ryosuke said kind softly, "I don't think you will be knocked down by my palm, after all, you are the patriarch of the Hyuga clan." While speaking, he glanced at his body with white eyes. Hyuga Hayashi's pure white robe was already stained by the impact just now, but through the white eyes, he could clearly tell that his body was not affected in any way by the palm just now. After all, comics are still comics, and there is a gap between them and reality. Ryosuke was a little surprised. People in this world are far stronger than he imagined in terms of physical fitness. If the palm just now was used in the previous life, it could casually knock a strong adult to the ground, but in this world, even for an undefended person, it did not achieve the expected effect. Although it's very rude, your performance really satisfied me. In battle, you look like a ninja. Hearing Ryosuke's inadvertent flattery, Hyuga Hayashi rarely pulled a stiff smile on his serious face, which was very helpful. In terms of physical fitness, he has indeed reached the standard for practicing gentle fist, but gentle fist. It's not just a simple matter of covering chakra on the palm and hitting the acupuncture points. From tomorrow, I will personally teach you all the techniques of our Hyuga clan, including the secret techniques that only the clan can learn. His movements are fast and powerful, and he seems to have secretly learned some gentle fist skills, but a child is a child, no matter how talented he is still an underdeveloped child. In terms of ninja, he is just getting started. I will study hard. Hyuga Ryosuke nodded seriously. Then the next thing, is the second thing I asked you to do. After a pause, the gentle smile that had been on his face from the beginning to the end was slightly restrained, and his voice subconsciously lowered. You should know, my eyes are the same as those of other members of the Hyuga clan, including yours. Make a difference. As soon as these words came out, the stiff smile on Hyuga Hayashi's face also restrained, and he raised his hand to signal him not to speak. His white eyes instantly opened, and he glanced nearby to confirm. You can rest assured that I have just confirmed that there is no third person besides you and Hinata. Hyuga Ryosuke signaled him to relax. Whether it is in the sky or underground, there is no one around here. Perceive the traces of ninjutsu. But even if he said that, Hyuga Hayashi still checked the surrounding situation safely, and then turned his attention to him again. It's always right to be careful. The white eyes on Hyuga Ryosuke are different from their Hyuga clan, he knows this very well. Perhaps it was because his blood was returning to his ancestors, his white eyes and physical abilities were stronger than theirs. In the long history of the Hyuga family, although some records are missing in the middle, they are generally considered complete. As a result of the changes in Hyuga Ryosuke, he closely resembles the original ancestor in the clan's history in appearance. Whether it's physical appearance or ability. His existence is the biggest secret of the Hyuga clan, and only the Hyuga clan knows the history of Hyuga. So now the entire family is only aware of this matter as the patriarchy and the great elder of the Hyuga clan. He will be an important opportunity for the rise of the family. As for Hyuga Ryosuke's external identity, he was chosen to be Hinata's husband-in-law only if he was talented. After all, only a genius who is alive and able to grow can be regarded as a real genius. Their Hyuga clan is different from the arrogant guys of the Uchiha clan. They will not spread the word just because a genius appears. Prudence is the reason why their clan can become the second most populous clan in Konoha, second only to the Sarutobi clan. Looking at the father-in-law amusedly, Hyuga Ryosuke was quite emotional in his heart. It was really lucky to be reborn into the Hyuga clan, whose behavior style was similar to his. If it was the Uchiha clan, he would never reveal his abilities, otherwise he would most likely be roasted on the stove. Konoha is not an easy place. The second thing I asked you to come here is that I heard that the messenger from Cloud Shinobi village has come to Konoha recently. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. This is the future of our family late at night. The clan grounds of the Hyuga clan, the room of Hyuga Hinata. In the room at this time, besides Hinata who is the owner of the room, there are many people. Next to the closed door, several elites of the Hyuga clan were staring with bated breath, and opened their white eyes to scan around the room, observing the surrounding situation. And farther away from them, in the innermost position, Hyuga Ryosuke and Hyuga Hayashi are quietly sitting beside Hinata. The whole atmosphere was very quiet, no one spoke, as if they were waiting for something. Mr. Ryosuke. A faint voice sounded. Lying on the bed, little Hinata faced her serious father beside her and her future husband who always had a gentle smile on his face. With her personality, it was impossible for her to fall asleep. Hush! Feeling the little guy's nervous gaze, Ryosuke shook his head amusedly, stretched out his palm to caress her palm. Sleep well, and when you wake up tomorrow, I'll take you out for a stroll. Can. Originally, she wanted to ask something, but in her nervous gaze, Hyuga Ryosuke's eyes seemed to have magic power, and she was immersed in it. Sleep, I have to get up early tomorrow. The gentle voice was very soft, and slowly, even in this strange environment, Hinata unexpectedly became sleepy unconsciously, and slowly closed his eyes following his words. The sound of even breathing slowly sounded, and Hinata fell into a deep sleep. It seems that Hinata is really afraid of you, can't you be nicer to her? Gently brushing away the hair sticking to her face with her fingers, Ryosuke looked helplessly at her father-in-law beside her. She is very eager to get your approval. Saying this, it's as if the two of them are real father and son, and Hinata is married into their family as a daughter-in-law. With a cold face, Hyuga Hayashi ignored his words, but stared into his eyes. Is this Bun's illusion ability? As recorded in history, the white eyes possessed by the first ancestors of the Hyuga family not only have the ability of perspective and insight, but also have many incredible powers. Well, but I still need to exercise. For his father-in-law's indifference to his daughter, Ryosuke was a little helpless, but he couldn't say anything more, and refocused on the vicinity of the house. Now they are waiting for the ninjas of Cloud Shinobi Village, and tonight is the third night that Cloud Shinobi Village emissaries have come to Konoha. For the first 2 nights, they stayed in Hyuga Hinata's room just like today, but they didn't wait until the so-called enemy appeared. Are you sure, you saw the future? The waiting time was long, and the atmosphere was silent for a while before Hyuga Hayashi spoke again. I don't worry about being heard by other people, after all, the room is quite big, and their voices are deliberately lowered a little. The so-called future is just the future I see. Glancing at the puzzled Hyuga Hayashi, Ryosuke with a mysterious smile on his face, blurred-eyed, when I saw this so-called future, and made some countermeasures, the future has changed. White eyes may indeed give him the ability to see through the future, but unfortunately, he has not yet awakened yet. All he relied on was his familiarity with the plot. Young Hinata, the arrival of the messenger of Cloud Shinobi Village, when he heard these 2 key words, his first thought was that his wife would be kidnapped. This kind of thing is worth it. Based on his own identity and strength considerations, the first thing Ryosuke thought of was relying on his own blood, relying on his perfect performance in front of Hyuga Hayashi all the time, convincing him to believe in himself and being able to see future. The envoys from Cloud Shinobi Village were only escorted by Cloud Shinobi Jainin on the surface, but it is uncertain how many people were actually lying in ambush outside the village. The number of enemies is unknown, and his side is only a 4-year-old child. No matter how strong he is, he has no ability to stop this from happening alone. So he barely thought about it. His first reaction was to take advantage of the situation and use the power of other people to stop it all. There is no doubt that the family that I rely on and my father-in-law who has high hopes for me are the best choice. He is the head of the Hyuga clan and the husband-in-law of the future owner. In Konoha, he has the highest power. Although he is young, he is already the top group of people. And it just so happens that Ryosuke can also take this opportunity to explain to Hyuga Hayashi in advance for his future predictions. But at this moment, the whispering between the two suddenly stopped. Outside the door, although the sound of rustling footsteps was very faint. But everyone present is an elite of the Hyuga clan, each of them has the ability to open their eyes, and they have outstanding achievements in the field of perception. The veins around the eye sockets of the crowd popped up, and pairs of white eyes easily passed through the closed door in front of them, and saw a few intruders sneaking outside. Under a pair of white eyes, the traces of chakra flow on these intruders are clearly visible. It is a ninja, and judging from the level of chakra quantity and control, it is at least as strong as Chunin. At this moment, Hyuga Hayashi, who is the head of the house, looked at the back with some surprise, the child sitting cross-legged beside the sleeping Hyuga Hinata, with a calm smile on his face. In his heart, the importance of Ryosuke has increased by 1 point, far surpassing his own children, reaching the same level as the family. Click! The moment the door was opened from the outside, the Hyuga elites in the house who had already been ready to go shot towards them like sharp arrows. Boom! The silent night was instantly broken by various sounds. Among the intruders outside the house, the ninja with Chunin strength was directly taken down. And the 2 Cloud Shinobi Jainin had already reacted the moment the incident was revealed. There was no extra dialogue, they retreated very calmly, and tried their best to retreat outward. However, it was foreseeable in advance that the Hyuga clan who had already laid a net would allow the 2 of them to escape. Before they had time to escape from the Hyuga clan, the 2 Jainin had already been captured by the elite of the Hyuga clan. Return. The acupoints all over their body were tapped, and the Cloud Shinobi, who had no power to resist, were thrown together like a doll, piled up into a hill. The whole process was smooth, the fighting and capture lasted less than 3 minutes, and the movement was kept to an extremely low level, without bringing too much noise to the night of Konoha village. And in the room at this time, the 2 people who kept their eyes blank all the time, even if they didn't get up, they could clearly see the whole arrest process in their eyes. Father, I'll trouble you for the next thing. It's not convenient for me to show my face. While talking, Hyuga Ryosuke lightly smiled and relieved the white eyes. The amount of chakra consumed in this state is not small. Even though his physical inheritance is similar to that of the Tsutsuki family, it is still somewhat lacking due to age. Take a good rest. Sitting across from him, Hyuga Hayashi nodded and stood up, satisfied with his calm and cautious attitude. This is the future of their Hyuga clan. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Chapter 4 Restaurant. The captured Cloud Shinobi Ninja was sent to the Hokage building as a witness. On the second day of this incident, Konoha's senior management held an emergency meeting. However, this matter has nothing to do with Ryosuke for the time being, because he is not qualified to participate in this kind of meeting, so he can only wait for Hyuga Hayashi to return before he can learn the follow-up results of this matter from him. Miss Hinata, Master Ryosuke, the tempura of this restaurant is quite famous in the village. We often come here to get together after we go out on missions. Food Street is an extremely lively area in Konoha village no matter day or night. Meatballs, takoyaki, sushi, fried skewers and other snacks are all available, and in addition to some small stalls, there are also dessert shops and many super popular restaurants. Such as the Akamichi family's yakiniku restaurant, such as the Ichiraku noodle restaurant. At this time, Hyuga Ryosuke took Hinata's hand and stopped in front of a restaurant with a lot of traffic. And behind them, there are two Hyuga elites as guards. On the surface, they were sent by Hyuga Hayashi to protect Hinata, but secretly they were configured for Ryosuke, who can be driven by him. Just here. After looking at this smoldering restaurant, Hyuga Ryosuke nodded, and looked gently at Hinata next to him. I made a promise a few days ago to take you out to play, and I have fulfilled my promise. The storefront of this restaurant is very large, like a big canteen. Looking inside from the door, both the hall and the front of the stage are full of people, the smell of fireworks is very strong, and the taste of the food should be good. Little Hinata looked very happy, staring helplessly at the inside of the shop, her nose wriggling from time to time, sniffing deeply the delicious food coming out of it. Although the words "can't wait" were written on her face, she still followed Ryosuke obediently. Come on, go in and have a good meal, and then go shopping. Seeing her cute look, Hyuga Ryosuke chuckled, holding Hinata's hand and wanting to go inside. But when he took a step forward, he found resistance coming from his palm, and the people around him stood still and did not keep up. Turning around suspiciously, Ryosuke noticed that Hinata was staring blankly at the front, and following her gaze forward, he saw a father and son laughing and walking out of the aisle. It looked like he had finished his meal and was about to leave. It seemed that the attention of the two caught the attention of the father and son, and their gazes looked this way. The father's eyes were full of doubts, but after seeing the white eyes on their faces and the guards behind them, he quickly looked away and pulled his children to speed up the pace to go out. It was the child. After seeing Hinata, his eyes lit up, and he made a face at her before leaving. The tension on Hinata's face calmed down after the father and son had gone away. Looking at her expression thoughtfully, Ryosuke didn't say much, and gently pulled her palm, and this time she followed him into the store obediently. The flow of people in the store is much more than what you see outside. There are people of various professions including ninjas, civilians, and merchants. They gathered here, enjoying delicious food while drinking, and chatting about daily trivial matters. After Hyuga Ryosuke and the others entered the store, the atmosphere in the store gradually became quieter, and many of them were secretly looking at a few people. This restaurant is not small. For this reason, this restaurant has private room services. The two guards behind were in charge of negotiating with the boss. After explaining the food and the private room, a young and beautiful girl came out from the other side of the cabinet, who seemed to be the boss' daughter. She enthusiastically walked in front of them and was responsible for guiding them. Just like that, Hyuga Ryosuke pulled Hinata towards the private room under the eyes of everyone in the store. After they left, there were occasional discussions about their identities in the store. That is the young lady of the Hyuga clan, right? It's rumored that she has a weak personality, but it seems to be true. Who's that kid over there? Although the voice of discussion was subtle, it still reached Hyuga Ryosuke's ears, and also reached the ears of the two Hyuga clansmen behind him. They all heard these voices except Hinata, who was relatively young and had no contact with perceptual ninjutsu. Go and shut them up. Stopping in his tracks, Hyuga Ryosuke ordered to the guards behind him without turning his head, Zongji, you pass a message to them on Hinata's behalf, telling them that it's okay to talk behind their backs, but it's too bad to talk about me in front of me like this. Presumptuous. After a pause, he repeated the important point, remember, it's for Hinata. Yes. Behind Ryosuke, Hyuga Suji responded, turned around and walked towards the lobby. Mr. Ryosuke. Holding Hyuga Ryosuke's hand tightly, Hinata was a little overwhelmed because of the father and son, who was not in a good mood just now, and she didn't know what happened. Come on, let's go in first. Ryosuke smiled gently, reaching out and stroking her hair. Tempura is an extremely simple dish, you just need to coat the ingredients and fry them. But the simpler the cooking method, the more superb skills are needed to bring out the taste of the ingredients if you want to bring the guests a different feeling in terms of the delicious taste of the food. The trick is to control the heat and fry for a long time, both of which determine the taste of the final product. Listening to the introduction of the boss's daughter, Ryosuke picked up a piece of fresh shrimp with a golden surface and hissing sound that had just been fished out of the oil pan, and put it in his mouth to lightly bite. There was a crisp click sound in the mouth, followed by the sweet taste of fresh shrimp exploded in the mouth. Although it is fried, it is not greasy. The chef has a good grasp of the heat when cooking. Although the outer layer of the shrimp is covered with a golden coat, although it is ripe and red, part of the inner shrimp meat is still raw. It is also for this reason that you can feel the sweetness of the ingredients themselves under the crispy coat. After all the food that had been ordered was brought up, everyone else left the room without disturbing the two of them eating. The atmosphere in the room was very quiet, except for the slight chewing sound, there was no other sound. Eating is a lonely thing for Ryosuke, a habit that has continued from previous lives to the present. Because he didn't have many friends since he was a child, he developed the habit of not talking when eating. And he didn't speak. Hinata also wouldn't take the initiative to find a topic. The food in this restaurant is really good, and Ryosuke put down his chopsticks after he was 80% full. I'm stuffed. On the opposite side of him, Hinata spoke in a low voice, and also put down her chopsticks to wipe her mouth. Did you eat so little today? It's only 4 servings, not like your usual serving. Ryosuke looked suspiciously at the plate on her desk, there were only 4 servings. The restaurant doesn't eat staple food, and although what they order is fried food, it is easy to get greasy, but you must know that when you are at home, this little girl usually eats at least 5 bowls of rice for a meal. Is it because, in a bad mood? He continued to ask. From the very beginning, Hinata's interest has been low, and she was fine when she went out. No. No. Hinata shook her head hastily as if she had been told something. Is it because of the father and son just now? Hyuga Ryosuke continued, staring at her seriously. And then the more flustered look on her face, she basically admitted this matter. Then let me guess, is that kid? Has he ever bullied you? With a gentle smile still on his face, Ryosuke's voice was unhurried, trying to minimize the pressure on Hinata. He can be sure that the discussions of those diners outside just now never reached Hinata's ears. Then the reason why she was in a bad mood was only the father and son that she ran into when she entered the door just now. And obviously, that middle-aged man still has a bit of eyesight, and he knows what the white eyes mean in konoha, so there is only the child who looks innocent and doesn't understand anything. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. I raise a daughter-in-law myself. Did you ever get ridiculed for rolling your eyes? What an absurd reason. It seems to be because Hyuga Hayashi ordered to listen to Ryosuke. So Hinata didn't mean to hide anything about herself. After Ryosuke guessed it, she lowered her head and told him all the things in a low voice. The Hyuga family has white eyes, which is different from ordinary people in appearance. So some children of the same age in the village like to bully her because of this. Although they didn't do anything directly, many people were laughing at her appearance and didn't want to play with her. Obviously, verbal violence and cold violence also made her feel sad. After listening carefully to Hinata's narration, Ryosuke didn't appear to be angry because of this matter, and always had a gentle smile on his face. So because of this matter, are you afraid of those children? As the future head of Hyuga, are you afraid of them as ordinary people? It's kind of ridiculous, but it happened. A newborn calf is not afraid of tigers, just like the news he saw in his previous life that the daughter of the emperor of the island country could be bullied at school. Most of the children in Konoha village who don't have Jainen's school don't know the name Hyuga or what the eyes represent. As for matters between children in the same village, adults generally would not interfere, especially in this world where force is paramount. Children were bullied, and few of them went home crying to find their mothers. In this case, Hinata, who is already cowardly and unsociable, is often alone, and being bullied suddenly becomes a matter of course. With her head down, Hinata didn't reply. She's well aware that she's let Ryosuke down, and she's let her father down. Your father is a very proud and old-fashioned person. The eldest lady of the Hyuga clan was scolded and cried by a few ordinary children. He will definitely not help you get ahead. He can't afford to lose this person. Besides, this is a child. Things in between. Looking at Hinata who bowed his head, Ryosuke continued to speak, speaking in a leisurely voice. With eyes closed, Hinata endured the pressure silently. However, unlike her father's rigid and indifferent voice, Ryosuke's voice was very gentle, which made her feel a little better. Come over. Ryosuke beckoned to Hinata who was opposite, motioning for her to sit down beside him. And Hinata stood up obediently, and sat down beside Ryosuke from the opposite side of the table. No matter who you are, no matter what your age or status, people who laugh at other people's appearance are the most childish people. As he spoke, Ryosuke picked up a piece of vegetable tempura with his chopsticks, because everyone's appearance at the beginning of life is determined innately, and it is all given by their parents. It is not him or she who can decide. Got it. Hinata obediently ate the vegetables that Ryosuke gave her, and Hinata half understood. But people will change, and time will not stand still. He continued, even a person who is not good looking, as long as he is good enough and works hard, he can make up for his own shortcomings through various methods, not to mention. You are so cute, they just don't know how to appreciate it. Compared with other people, the Hyuga clan is fairer in skin color, and those who return to their ancestors like Ryosuke are even paler than blue. As for the eyes, they are wearing pure natural white contact lenses. This makes them appear different and strange compared with ordinary people. But just like in ancient times, when facing Westerners, Eastern countries would always think that their looks were weird, so they defined them as unattractive. In fact, it's just an aesthetic difference. Ryosuke knows this, but there is no distinction between East and West in this world, so he has no way to explain it to Hinata. On the opposite side of him, Hinata's originally gloomy expression became shy because of his words. Looking at this cute girl with a slightly flushed face, Ryosuke asked softly, then, Hinata, are you willing to believe their words or mine? Biting her lower lip lightly, it took Hinata a long time to whisper a few words, I believe in Ryosuke-kun. Very good. Nodding in satisfaction, Ryosuke stretched out his palm and stroked her hair. Since the fault is not your fault, then I will take you there to find them later, and you can ask them to apologize to you. What? Hinata, who was still shy, raised her head in panic. Are those 3 children who often bully you? The summer sun is quite harsh, but this does not affect the energetic children playing. And the park at the center of Konoha village is where children often gather. Ryosuke took Hinata to stand outside the park, observing the situation inside through the gaps in the treetops. Instead of answering his question, Hinata whispered, Ryosuke-kun, let's go back. Because she grabbed her hand so hard, Ryosuke could easily feel her fear and nervousness. Remember what I told you just now. Softly comforting Hinata, Ryosuke put his head next to her ear and whispered, a person's appearance can be changed through acquired efforts, and not only appearance, but also many things can be changed through hard work. Submissiveness and cowardice are your natural temperament. I believe you should know it yourself, but you can also change this and make your father look at you with admiration. Hinata was a little nervous at first, but when she heard the name father, she was stunned. Strolling to the back of her, Ryosuke stretched out his palms from behind her to press her cheeks, and straightened her head so that she no longer bowed her head, but looked straight at the children in the distance. The 3 children below, they often laugh at your appearance, don't they? He whispered softly and gently in Hinata's ear, since you believe in me and believe that you are not ugly, it's just that they don't know how to appreciate it, it's just that they are talking nonsense, then, you should go down, let them apologize to you. Can. Mentioning this, Hinata opened his mouth a little nervously, unconsciously wanting to lower his head, but was held down by Ryosuke, unable to do so. As the future head of the Hyuga clan, if you want to satisfy your father, you absolutely cannot keep your head down like this. Ryosuke's voice seemed to have some kind of magical power, which made her temporarily forget her nervousness. Do as I said, walk over with your chest up, open your mouth, and ask them to apologize to you. You just need to explain the matter clearly, then stare at them blankly, and wait for their apology. Zongji and Xingke will take care of the rest. After finishing speaking, he gently stretched out his hand and pushed her from behind. Hinata, who was pushed out, only felt a force seem to be transmitted to himself along the palm of Ryosuke. Unconsciously, she followed his words and began to step forward, keeping her head upright. Looking at Hinata, who was walking towards the park, Ryosuke told the 2 guards behind him, "Follow her, put on a fierce expression, and just scare the 3 little ghosts." "Yes." Hyuga Soji and Hyuga Zinke nodded and chased after Hinata. Not following their footsteps, Ryosuke stood still, looking at the park with his hands behind his back. The smile on his face remained unchanged. A piece of delicious fresh shrimp tempura needs to be controlled in terms of heat and frying time to make the best finished product. He didn't have a perfect understanding of the concept of a wife in his past and present lives, but this didn't affect him from cultivating a best partner for himself. If possible, he also hopes that this partner can be his umbrella, and until he fully grows up, he will become the bright future of the Hyuga clan. And about this, the cowardly and incapable person in the comics can't do it, and he doesn't want his partner to be such a person. Hinata needs to grow. Hyuga Hayashi's wrong education method is corrected by him, and he raises his own wife. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Chapter 6 Speech is free. The park in the center of Konoha can be said to be a paradise for children who do not have a Jainin school. At this age, they have a lot of free time, and coming to the park to play with people of the same age can be said to be what they look forward to most every day. Here, not only children from ordinary families, but also children from some families in the village, such as Akamichi, Yamanaka, Nara, and other big families, will come here to play. Perhaps only the Uchiha clan in the village is proud of themselves, and none of the children of the clan will come here to join them. At this time, there were many small groups in 2s and 3s in the park. However, what is more noteworthy among them is a small gang of 4 in the most central area. The reason is that 2 girls in the gang, they sat on the sculpture dummy of 3rd Hokage. This behavior is very unscrupulous. Shikamaru. Find something to do, it's so boring. Sitting on the left shoulder of 3rd Hokage's sculptural dummy, Yamanaka Ino is very irritable. I finally don't have to help my mother in the flower shop, I don't want to do it all afternoon. Beside, lying on the grass, Nara Shikamaru yawned, you let little Sakura accompany you, what do you girls like to play, I really don't know. Slacker, it's because you want to lie down. Ino rolled his eyes and looked at the girl with pink hair sitting next to him on the other shoulder of the sculpture. Sakura, let's find something to do. But I don't know what to play. Harano Sakura lowered her head a little nervously, feeling excited about something bad kids would do like sitting on the 3rd Hokage sculpture. But she couldn't express her inner thoughts. Her mother said that she had to be a well-behaved girl so that people would like her. And at this moment, Chichi, who was sitting next to the lying Shikamaru, silently eating potato chips, suddenly said, that guy, here he is again. Which guy? Shikamaru sat up and followed his gaze. All of a sudden, his expression became weird. The young lady of the Hyuga clan, the girl who is often bullied in this park, is slowly approaching the group of bullies. Sitting on the sculpture, Ino squinted his eyes and asked Shikamaru, shall I go and help her? And next to him, Harano Sakura's eyes were also full of inquiry and a trace of sympathy. Once upon a time, she was often bullied by that group, and it was also because of her appearance, because of her wide forehead. If Ino hadn't rescued her later and absorbed her into this small team, she might still be bullied all the time, and she wouldn't even come to this park to play anymore. No need. Shikamaru shook his head, I've already said that she is the eldest lady of the Hyuga clan, too much contact with her will affect us. It wasn't Hinata's first visit to the park, and it wasn't the first time they saw her being bullied. But unlike Harano Sakura, the 3 of them represent the future Inoshika Ch. and Hyuga Hinata, the future heir of the Hyuga clan. As one of the few big families in Konoha, their contact is likely to affect certain things. After all, Shikamaru is not very old. Although he has been smart since he was a child, based on his knowledge, he can only think that there will be troubles, but he can't guess what the specific consequences will be. It seems that she is much smarter this time, and knows to bring 2 guards. He saw 2 people from the Hyuga clan walking into the entrance, they should be Hinata's guards. But Shikamaru looked in the direction the 2 walked in, and he saw another member of the Hyuga clan. This person from the Hyuga family should not be a guard. Judging from his height, his age is similar to Hinata's age. Because the distance was a bit far, Shikamaru didn't see this person's face clearly, but the other person seemed to be observing their side, and nodded to him friendly. Dazed for a moment, Shikamaru also nodded politely at him. Does Inoshika Ch? Seeing Shikamaru nodding at him, the smile on Hyuga Ryosuke's face became even sunnier. Although he didn't open his eyesight easily allowed him to see the 4 people in the center area and their faces clearly. The Nara clan, the Akamichi clan, the Yamanaka clan, and Harano Sakura. Unfortunately, did not see the blonde boy. Ryosuke felt a little regretful in his heart, but only slightly. Next, Hinata's performance can be witnessed by Inoshika ch, the 3 of them present, the effect is enough. Thinking of this, Ryosuke turned his attention to the small figure in the distance again. "Hi there." A steady, emotionless voice escaped from his lips. Bathed in the sunlight, Hinata looked at the 3 people in front of her calmly, and spoke politely. I don't know when she started, she couldn't face other people so calmly. Perhaps it was from the first time she faced her father's disappointed eyes, or from the time and time again she gave in and flinched. Ryosuke's voice echoed in her mind. From the very beginning, his palm seemed to be clinging to her back, giving her warmth and courage, and made her feel again what a normal person should maintain when communicating with others. Manner. Normal people? At least it shouldn't be a low-headed, submissive look. There seemed to be a voice in her heart that kept reminding her to raise her head and look directly at the 3 people in front of her. The 3 children who were still playing football were interrupted and turned their heads angrily, staring at Hinata. Among them, there was the child I met at the restaurant at noon. Hey, white-eyed monster! As soon as he opened his mouth, it was a familiar name. But before the child finished his insulting words, he noticed that Hinata was no longer empty as before, but with 2 guards behind him. All of a sudden, he swallowed back the words he hadn't finished speaking, took a step back unconsciously, and nervously looked at the 2 people behind her. You, what do you want to do? Is the big bullying the small? In the park, most of the children turned their eyes to this side to watch the excitement. They are very familiar with these 3 children who often bully others, and many of them have been bullied before. As for Hyuga Hinata, they are more familiar, because they used to be one of them, but now they are huddling together and living better. Apologize. Standing in front of the 2 guards, Hinata said seriously, they won't do anything casually, they just want to keep me safe. What I need, is for you to apologize to me, because what you said to me before has had a great impact on me. Deo, apologize. The 3 children looked at each other, but after hearing that the 2 adults would not make a move, the tension in their hearts suddenly relaxed. Immediately afterwards, the child I met in the restaurant couldn't help laughing. We're just telling the truth, you're just ugly. That's right, ugly, you don't think you can force us to change our mouths by scaring us with 2 people. A child next to him also spoke up. You are free to express your opinion, and you are not Hokage, what right do you have for us to apologize? Taking advantage of their height and age, they looked down on Hinata. Standing behind Hinata, Hyuga Soji and Hyuga Zinke's faces darkened when they heard these words. But they didn't make a move, and the same sentence, as long as they don't take the initiative to bully Hinata, then they can't do it casually. Bullying children is a very shameful thing, and their Hyuga clan can't afford this shame. Interesting. The children in this world seem precocious and tough than I imagined. Outside the park, Ryosuke watched with great interest that the 3 children began to speak unscrupulously after knowing that Zongji and Zinke would not make a move. The 2 guards seemed unable to put a lot of pressure on them. The world is different, and the rules are also different. But things are still predictable. If he wants Hinata to change the views of other people in the village on her from today, it must start from today, not even a day later. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Chapter 7 Am I good-looking QWQ panic, at a loss. Standing in front of the 3 of them, Hinata panicked. This is different from what Ryosuke said. After she did what he said, the 3 guys in front of her didn't apologize to her. For a moment, all kinds of emotions came to her heart, and fear and retreat once again occupied her heart. Sweat dripped from his back unconsciously, and he wanted to lower his head, but Hinata found that he couldn't. Indeed, you are right. She was surprised to find that she had spoken unconsciously, and her voice was as calm as before, without the panic expressed in her heart. It is indeed free to express one's own views on people, things, etc. But it doesn't mean it's correct, especially talking about me in front of the person involved, that is, in front of me. Staring flatly and indifferently at the 3 boys in front of her who were much taller than her, Hinata did not show the usual weakness. Although her tone was calm, it carried a certain edge. This is an aura that she doesn't have as usual. The boys, who were still laughing unscrupulously, suddenly became dazed, and looked at Hinata a little at a loss. But she didn't stop her words because of their doubts, but continued to speak. At first, I thought this was just a matter between us children, so I came to you and wanted you to apologize to me, then act as if nothing happened. But now I feel that it doesn't work to reason with you. Then after a while, I will visit your home and talk to your family members about this matter. After all, someone always needs to listen to me to explain this matter clearly. I believe your parents will be very happy at that time. Yes, let you apologize to me. You. The three of them, who were at a loss because of Hinata's sudden change, became anxious when they heard that they were looking for their parents. But they just clenched their fists and planned to take a step forward. I advise you not to take your proud military power seriously. The two behind me are real Chunin. Hinata's cold voice continued. I reminded you just now, as long as you don't take the initiative to do something, they won't do it. We Hyuga clan will not do things to bully children. Along with her voice, Hyuga Zongji and Hyuga Xingke, who stood behind her, who had been equally at a loss since just now, and had no idea what happened to their young lady, seemed to remember their mission. Cooperatingly, he released the killing intent on his body, and stared at the three children coldly. Their gazes were like the biting cold wind in winter, chilling the three children from head to toe. It was a kind of unspeakable fear. But compared to the two people behind, what scares them the most is the small figure in front of them. They can be sure that the girl in front of her is definitely not the person she used to bully, she is definitely not the weak young lady of the Hyuga clan. Yes, sorry. The first person to bend down and bow his head was the child he met in the restaurant. He seems to have a good relationship with his father, as can be seen from the meal just now. But at the same time, he seemed to be very afraid of his father, and didn't want to cause trouble at home because of this matter. Sorry, we were wrong. Immediately afterwards, the other two apologized one after another. And at this time, Hinata seemed to have returned to her original appearance, and waved her hands in a panic. I accept your apology. Her voice was soft, and she didn't have the domineering feeling she had a minute ago. Hinata is in a daze now, she doesn't understand what happened in the whole process. Of course she was conscious during the whole process, but it was more like a bystander's perspective. Her body seemed to refute the three of them naturally, and then they lined up easily and bowed down in front of her to apologize. Is this really me? When the three boys in front of him fled the park, Hinata raised his palm in confusion and looked at it with his head tilted. Standing outside the park, the bulging veins around Ryosuke's eye sockets slowly subsided, returning to calm. Of course, this matter could not be done by Hinata alone. From the beginning, he didn't think that Hinata could make the three children apologize with just one sentence. If a person wants to change his personality, it needs a process that accumulates over time, and it is definitely not something that can be done in a day or with a piece of encouragement. All the words Hinata said just now were spoken by Ryosuke, relying on the illusion ability of his white eyes to control her consciousness. And the fact that his white eyes have illusion ability is top secret, the less people know, the better. So, when Hinata took Hyuga Soji and the two of them into the park, he didn't follow, but stayed outside the park to hide. Great job, Hinata, well done. Not stingy with his praise, Ryosuke strolled into the park and came to Hinata, who was still a little dazed. Facing Ryosuke's compliment, Hinata was very embarrassed, but his mind was still clear, and he approached his ear in a low voice and asked, Ryosuke-kun, did I do it just now? Didn't you help me? Of course you did it. Everyone here is watching, and you persuaded those three brats to apologize to you. Ryosuke chuckled kide. On the side, Hyuga Zongji was surprised, but also very happy to say, yes, miss, you looked very handsome just now, and you look a bit like a patriarch. That's right, when the clan meeting was held before, the clan leader liked to train people like this. Xingke quickly agreed. But the compliments of the two of them are definitely from the heart, and there is no flattering meaning. Hinata's performance just now really surprised them. Hinata blushed and wanted to explain what just happened, but she didn't know what happened. But before she could say it, her hair was held down by a warm palm. You've done a good job. Look, you're actually very good, but you just lack a little self-confidence. Ryosuke's voice was gentle, and she swallowed back the words she was about to speak. I was not confident at first, and thought that it was not what I did, so I was a little bit scattered. Could it be, did you really do it yourself? Hinata was full of doubts in his heart, but soon, he was distracted by the warm palm on his head. Don't lower your head, as the future patriarch of the Hyuga clan, you have to keep your head up at all times, looking straight at everyone in front of you, no matter what the situation is. Ryosuke looked at the girl in front of him with half-closed eyes who was so comfortable in front of him with a smile, and stopped stroking. It's almost time to go back, father should have returned from the meeting. All right. There was a lost kite on Hinata's face. But for some reason, she felt very comfortable in her heart, very, very excited. She felt that she was slowly starting to become different. And as soon as this thought came up, Hinata's gaze fell to the center, those people who had taken good care of her before. They were also looking at her, as if they had been paying attention to what happened just now. Facing her gaze, Shikamaru and the others nodded in a friendly manner. In the face of their friendliness, she never dared to take the initiative to talk to others, let alone try things. At this moment, Hinata felt that she could do it, and she had the courage to try. Ryosuke-kun, please wait for me. Hinata left a word, and under Ryosuke's puzzled eyes, trotted to Shikamaru and the others. Hi there. Greeted politely as always. Hello. Shikamaru and the others responded politely, but they all looked at her with strange eyes. Although it's impolite to ask like this, I always care about this point. May I ask, am I ugly? Under that impulsiveness, Hinata, who came in front of several people, blurted out after asking this sentence, his head suddenly buzzed and began to congest. She stood in front of several people with flushed cheeks, but she still held back and waited for an answer. It's embarrassing, who would ask people so bluntly whether they look good or not, would they think I'm narcissistic? But I really care about whether Ryosuke-kun praised me for being good-looking just to comfort me. Those three guys said they were telling the truth, is it true, or like Ryosuke-kun said, they just have no aesthetic taste? Pfft. Ha 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 ha. Sitting on the shoulders of the sculpture of third Hokage, Ino couldn't help laughing out loud, the laughter was hearty. Immediately afterwards, under Hinata's nervous gaze, she jumped down and landed firmly on the ground. Although Shikamaru had been warning them not to have too much contact with Hinata, she still couldn't help it now. Coming in front of Hinata, Ino stretched out his palm and rubbed it on Hinata's hair. It's beautiful, you look good, and you're also very cute. While kneading, she also looked towards Ryosuke. Is that your future husband? You look so sweet. Her moves are from Ryosuke. Just now, she saw such a scene from a distance, and somehow felt very sweet in her heart, which broke some of her cognition about emotions. It's like, the hero and heroine in the romance stories I've seen in the past have an image. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Chapter 8 Good. Great. For this infiltration, Cloud Shinobi Village will make material compensation to our Hyuga clan and the village. The third generation project hopes that this matter can be reduced to a minor one. When I got home, Hyuga Hayashi, who had rushed to the Hokage building for a meeting early in the morning, had already returned. The father and son came directly to the study and started a conversation between men. In fact, Hinata, the future patriarch, should be present in this conversation, but because she is still relatively young and has just decided to make changes, Ryosuke didn't ask her to join. As for Hyuga Hayashi, he didn't think much of the heir. He has now put all his attention on Ryosuke, who he believes is the future of the Hyuga clan. It seems that you are not very surprised by this result. You have seen this future? Have you seen the result of this meeting? Sitting at the desk, Hyuga Hayashi half closed his eyes and looked at Ryosuke, who was only tall enough to show a head on the desk because of his age, even if he was sitting on a chair. As the head of the clan, he is doomed to be unable to maintain 100% trust in anyone. But Ryosuke said that his white eyes can see into the future, and he believed it 70% to 80%. This is based on his age, his identity, and the records of the old times in the shrine of Hyuga. About the ability to see the future, it seems that there is a limit, and it does not work from time to time. I have no way to master this ability for the time being, but I will do it as soon as possible. After hearing the news, Ryosuke had a very calm expression on his face, and explained, as for the outcome of this matter, I just guessed it, and I believe you probably guessed it before going to the meeting, father. After all, the third generation it's getting old. Father, you have given me the highest authority regarding the information chain within the clan, so I am more or less clear about the personalities of some people in the village, and even in other villages. Judging from the intelligence data collected by the tribe, after the Third World War, most of the orders issued by the third generation tended to be safe and even tolerant. They no longer had the courage to fight back when they were young. The current strength of the village is relatively weak. Sunin left, and the fourth generation died young. There are not many people who are able to carry the banner and go to the front to fight. Having said that, he paused and concluded, excessive friction with Cloud Shinobi village at this time is definitely not a good thing. But there are already witnesses, and those who did the work have been captured. It is impossible to pretend that nothing happened. If you want to come to the meeting, third generation should want to push this issue to Cloud Shinobi on the one hand, let them compensate for this matter clap clap, while applauding. Hyuga Hayashi's eyes were full of admiration. It's a wonderful analysis, you are right, in fact, I probably guessed the result before the meeting. If because of this incident, we Hyuga suffered casualties, or even Hinata was taken away, third generation's purpose is to calm our anger, and there is still a possibility of war. But now that there is no loss in our clan, then he will definitely not let Konoha fall into the flames of war again because of this incident. Ryosuke silently nodded without speaking. However, I'm a little curious. In the future you see, what is the trend of this matter? Hyuga Hayashi asked again, the situation last night, if it was not arranged in advance, they will take Hinata away, right bar? Our Hyuga clan's secret about white eyes, at the end of this matter, did Cloud Shinobi village succeed in the end? He used an affirmative sentence. Judging from the level of the intruders last night, they would undoubtedly succeed without prior precautions. They did manage to take Hinata, but they couldn't leave the village. Ryosuke shook his head, but these things are not important anymore, the important thing is that we have prevented this from happening now. Can't you tell me? The eyes have limitations in this regard. Hyuga Hayashi was a little puzzled. I just think that letting your brain receive too much useless information will affect your actual judgment. Ryosuke explained with a smile, the future I see is not necessarily what will happen. If in the future I see, third generation is an amiable hero who is willing to sacrifice himself to protect Konoha's face and protect Konoha. But in reality, he is a pedantic old man who is hesitant about many things. Then, father, do you think I should believe in the future I see, or what I have come into contact with now? Hyuga Hayashi thought for a while. This needs to be decided by yourself. That's right, I really need to judge based on the actual situation. Ryosuke nodded, but if my brain carries too much information about this, then maybe I will be hesitant. Is his character like the future I see, or the present I meet? What will he do next? Will it be against me? But if it is according to the future I see, he will undoubtedly help me, but if it's him now, then I think the chances of him helping me are very low. To collect intelligence and analyze the development of things, what needs to be collected is useful information. Too much useless and complicated information will only affect my judgment process. The secret of the white eyes has actually been cracked by people from Kirigakure, and someone in Kirigakure has even successfully transplanted the white eyes. The reason why the Hyuga family guards the clan is to ensure the purity of the white eyes. But about these things, about what Hyuga Hayashi is worried about, he doesn't want to reveal too much. Just like what he once said to Hyuga Hayashi, the fate of people is unpredictable. Even if Ryosuke knows the direction of the plot, he has no way to guarantee at what time, at what location, who will appear there, and whether he will die there, all of which he cannot be sure. After all, this world already has an extra figure like him, and many things will change because of his arrival. Before he really gained the ability to see through the future, he would only use the plot in his memory as a reference, and he would not believe in any content, including the characters and living habits of those people in his memory. With half-closed eyes, Hyuga Hayashi stared at Ryosuke for a while, then said coldly, "Are you reminding me? I'm talking about myself." Ryosuke quickly sighed, "I found out that in the past, I like to obtain information based on the intelligence chain in the family, and then analyze the development of things. I think that knowing yourself and your enemy is the only way to win every battle. But now I feel that even if we know ourselves and the enemy, we may not be able to win all battles. I used to be a little too naive and one-sided." The smile on his face remained unchanged, and after he finished speaking, the atmosphere in the study suddenly fell silent. Time passed bit by bit. Hyuga Hayashi stared at Ryosuke, and Ryosuke looked back at him, calm and relaxed. In the end, it was Hyuga Hayashi's laughter that broke the silence. Very good, it is indeed a bit too naive and one-sided, your performance is really not like a child. Perhaps my request to you should not be limited to a child. Although a little stiff, it can be seen that his smile is from the heart. As for the reason for the stiffness, it's because I don't laugh often. But father, I have screened out a piece of information to tell you about this matter. Different from his stiff smile, Ryosuke's smile has reached the level of being fake, making it difficult to tell whether it is a real smile or a fake one. Third generation's defense against our Hyuga family may be deeper than you imagine. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. Past and present. The bright stars are like chess pieces, shining brightly on this dark chessboard. The vast night sky seems to have no boundaries. Or maybe there is a limit, but Ryosuke's current vision is not wide enough to accommodate the entire starry sky. Lie in bed and look up at the sky through the huge skylight. There was no expression on his face, no smile that he would always keep even when he was alone. In fact, Ryosuke is not a person who likes to laugh, and the smile makes him feel tired. Compared with laughing, he prefers to be expressionless like this, which is the most comfortable state for him. But a deadpan face can give people a sense of alienation, and it can make people feel cold. Rather than making people feel strange, he prefers that others have a good impression of him and a sense of dependence on him, which will make him feel a little bit of existence in this world. This time, the death of Hyuga Hisashi was avoided, and the loss of Hyuga's combat power was avoided. In the following period, there is not much description in the original book. Except for the Uchiha genocide, there are no major events. There are more minor events. The major events basically started after Naruto graduated. While watching the night sky, Ryosuke thought about the recent events. At the end of each day, he will carefully recall what he did today, and sort out the plans he made by the way. This is a habit he has maintained since his previous life. Ryosuke's past life was not ordinary. Compared with ordinary people, his past life was quite difficult. Born as an orphan, he was abandoned in an orphanage since he was a child. Fortunately, he is relatively precocious, and he knows very well that his life has already lost to most people at the starting line, and he can't reach the average line at all, so he worked hard enough to complete his studies based on excellent grades. During the whole study, he didn't spend a penny, and even got a lot of scholarships and social subsidies from various schools. Thanks to his strong adaptability since he was a child, Ryosuke has flourished in society after leaving school. Generally speaking, his previous life was bitter before sweet. Although, not long after sweet, he came to this world by accident. But Ryosuke didn't blame others because of this incident. Which world is actually not important to him, the only thing to be thankful for is that he was not married and had children in his previous life. He didn't want his child to suffer the same thing as himself and become an orphan that no one wanted. This is also the reason why Ryosuke was able to accept all this so calmly after coming to this world, and quickly adapted to plan a new life for himself. He has always been a person, always has been. I have to recultivate Hinata's self-confidence. If you want to be my wife, you can't just be a vase. The ninja world is not as peaceful as the previous world. Because of Cloud Shinobi, I have been delayed for so many days and have not started learning Gentle Fist. The progress of my practice has been affected. I need to remind my father tomorrow. As for the experience bar in my mind, it took 3 years to reach 100% for the first time, and now the second time is only a year past, that is, if there is no accident, the second time will be at the age of 6. Done that year. Sorting out the recently planned things one by one, until the last thing was confirmed, Ryosuke slowly got up and closed the skylight. His room was designed by himself. As the head of the Hyuga family, he has the financial and human resources, allowing him to easily build the house he wants in this world where the entertainment business is underdeveloped. Next is the time for sleep. In order to welcome a better tomorrow, every rest must be done wholeheartedly. Gentle Fist is a secret technique passed down from generation to generation by our Hyuga clan. Only by relying on the convenience brought to us by our blood, that is, our eyes, can we exert the power of Gentle Fist to ultimate. The principle, you should already be very clear, is to inject your own chakra into the enemy's body, thereby damaging the chakra's pathways, meridian system and internal organs in the enemy's body. The light of the morning sun fell on the ground, and early in the morning, Ryosuke and Hinata were called by Hyuga Hayashi to teach the Gentle Fist method. It seems that because of a conversation yesterday, Hyuga Hayashi no longer treats Ryosuke as a child. As for Hinata, it is entirely because she is also the main family, and she is the future head of the family. Different from ordinary taijutsu, our taijutsu is more focused on attacking the inner body of the human body. Hyuga Hayashi continued to explain, the human body is very fragile. No matter how powerful a ninja is, it is impossible for the body to be invincible. Compared to the external body surface, or even the bones, the internal 5 internal organs and meridians are hundreds of times more difficult to practice. He narrates earnestly and demonstrates himself from time to time, allowing Ryosuke and the others to feel the feeling of being invaded by the chakra of the gentle fist method, sealing the acupuncture points in the body, and cutting off the meridians. Then, Ryosuke, you can try to practice the gentle fist method, and I will guide you in your practice. Having said that, Hyuga Hayashi paused, and turned his attention to his own daughter. As for Hinata, your body is not qualified to practice the gentle fist method. Today, continue to practice as usual, temper your body, and increase your strength and speed. Yes. Hinata nodded seriously, walked to the other side consciously, and started the usual exercise. But this decisive answer and expression made Hyuga Hayashi stunned for a moment. It was also at this time that he realized that his daughter seemed to be a little different. Thinking back carefully, it seems that since last night when they had dinner together, her performance was a little bold. She dared to raise her head and chest to face him, unlike before, when she didn't even dare to look him in the eye. She is working hard to get your approval, and she is also working hard to learn to be a family head. Sensing the doubts in Hyuga Hayashi's heart, Ryosuke explained softly, if Hinata works hard enough, although she doesn't meet the requirements in your heart, I hope you can encourage her appropriately and praise her. Self-confidence is a very important content in people's changeable emotions. It can make people get twice the result with half the effort when doing anything. This is also why Ryosuke misunderstood Hinata yesterday. It was the result of her own courageous attempt. He hoped that Hinata would become a qualified patriarch, not a puppet patriarch who would only obey his words. Turning his gaze back to Ryosuke, Hyuga Hayashi nodded incredulously, but didn't say anything more, let alone ask what happened. Let's get started. Ryosuke, that little genius of Uchiha, who is 11 years old this year, already has the strength of Chunin. Although the age gap between you is not small, I hope that as a person favored by the ancestors, you will not lose to him. I'll do my best. Ryosuke smiled at Kide. Unless he needs to go to the bright side and show his ability to deter him, most of the time, he is used to leaving half of what he says. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Chapter 10, the so-called gentle fist method. Hey! What? Under the scorching sun, only the head of the Hyuga family can enter the independent training ground. A small figure is trying to shake its fists and feet, tempering its own body. From time to time, there were very imposing shouts from her mouth. And in the center of the practice field, the old and the young stood facing each other with their backs straight. Hyuga Hayashi stared blankly at Ryosuke in front of him, who was closing his eyes tightly. Ever since the general content of the gentle fist method was taught to him, he just stood there with his eyes closed, not knowing what he was doing. But Hyuga Hayashi doesn't think it's the child's laziness that affects him. He knows very well that Ryosuke is not an ordinary child, he knows what he should do. So he didn't bother and ask, but opened his eyes and quietly waited and observed his body. But he was right, Ryosuke was certainly not being lazy. At this moment, Ryosuke carefully reviewed every word, every movement, every detail of Hyuga Hayashi just now in his mind, as well as the feeling that his chakra invaded the body to cut off the meridians and seal the acupuncture points. The first rebirth brought him not only an experience bar in his mind, but also because of this rebirth, his memory and thinking ability became stronger than the previous life. His eyes are still tightly closed, but Ryosuke's body has begun to move as his consciousness gradually becomes clearer. Seeing him start to move, Hyuga Hayashi, who was standing next to him, took a step back to make enough room so as not to disturb him. Exactly the same movement, exactly the same chakra running method. When the chakra is attached to the palm, Ryosuke perfectly reproduces the movement that Hyuga Hayashi demonstrated just now. Break swinging out a palm, the powerful wind gurgled along with the movement. And chakra, which was attached to his palm, also hit out, but soon disappeared between the sky and the earth because there was no tolerance for the target's body. Quietly watching the scene in front of him, Hyuga Hayashi's eyes were full of horror. As the patriarch of the Hyuga clan, he is well aware of the difficulty of practicing the gentle fist method. In the long history of Hyuga, no matter whether it is the main family or the branch house, no clansman can learn the gentle fist method with just one glance like Ryosuke. And after his observation, Ryosuke's movement just now is exactly the same as the movement he demonstrated just now. This reproduction ability is not weaker than that of the Uchiha clan, at least Uchiha has no way to use Sharingan to reproduce their gentle fist of the Hyuga clan. But before the astonishment in Hyuga Hayashi's heart stabilized, Ryosuke in front of him had already moved again. Bang bang bang! Dull sonic booms continued to explode in the void. With each palm strike, Ryosuke attaches chakra to the palm very well, and gradually has his own style, instead of rigidly imitating Hyuga Hayashi's fighting habits like just now. Unfortunately, in the 8 trigrams 64 palms in the gentle fist technique, he can only hit 32 palms because of the amount of chakra. When there was only a trace of chakra left, Ryosuke finally stopped and slowly opened his eyes. And his whole body has already been completely soaked by the sweat oozing from his body during the practice just now, and the soil under his feet is wet. Taking a deep breath to soothe the internal organs that were running at high speed due to strenuous exercise, Ryosuke smiled, looked at Hyuga Hayashi, who had already spoken wordlessly, and said, "Is this the gentle fist method of our Hyuga clan? It is really difficult." Suppressing the weird feeling in his heart, Hyuga Hayashi stiffened. "Kide, you are only using it for the first time, and it is already amazing." "Is it the first time?" Ryosuke nodded noncommittally. "Father, I need to refine a new chakra, and take a rest by the way." "Okay, then you rest first, I'll go see Hinata." As if running away, Hyuga Hayashi put down these words and hurriedly turned around and left. And at the moment when he turned his head, the expressionless expression on his face had completely collapsed. Really difficult? There are only these 4 words in Hyuga Hayashi's mind, and his son-in-law is far more capable of pretending than he imagined. How long did it take him to learn the gentle fist method? It's like a week. It was funny watching Hyuga Hayashi's frantic movements when he turned around. Ryosuke had already seen that he was not at peace. But he really has no humility. Although in the real world he only tried the gentle fist method once, in the mental space, in his mind, he tried 11 times before he could completely memorize the whole set of movements, and perfectly reproduced. The practice of gentle fist method is not easy. Ryosuke tried it once in Hyuga Hayashi's test. At that time, he only understood the principle of gentle fist, but when he used it, he knew it was definitely not that simple. Although he had no actual combat experience before, when Ryosuke tried to hit that palm, he could easily feel that the chakra contained in his palm did not penetrate into his body. Chakra in Hyuga Hayashi's body, while protecting his body, also repels the intrusion of Ryosuke chakra. The gentle fist method is actually a bit similar to the martial arts in the martial arts novels that Ryosuke read in his previous life. And it is a combination of external and internal strength. The so-called internal strength, of course, is chakra. In the process of using gentle fist, the flow of chakra in the meridians requires a special way of operation. The soft chakra will be endowed with strong rigidity and penetrating power during the flow. The external power refers to the special force technique, which allows Ryosuke to exert force through various parts of the body while swaying his palm, and burst out the so-called dark energy in an instant, so as to better control the aggressive chakra in the body. Into the enemy's body. One inside and one outside complement each other. This is the essence of the famous gentle fist method in the ninja world. And why is Ryosuke so tired after just using it once? It's entirely because the process of controlling the body to display what the spiritual consciousness has learned is not easy. The whole process consumes a lot of his spirit, and the same goes for his body. Every movement requires a strong spirit to correct and avoid deviations. And in the follow-up process, it is not easy to integrate your own feelings in the application process. There is a saying that is good, the brain means what it has learned, but the body may not. But obviously, that doesn't apply to Ryosuke, but it's hard work. This is also the reason why in Hyuga Hayashi's eyes, Ryosuke can fully display the gentle fist method just by reading it once, but it is difficult to shout in his mouth. Because, it's really hard. Patriarch. At this time, a voice sounded outside the practice field. Ryosuke, who was sitting cross-legged, refining and recovering chakra, opened his eyes and looked up towards the door. A man who looked similar to Hyuga Hayashi, but younger, was standing at the door with a child, raising his hand to Hyuga Hayashi. And the kid beside him was looking at Ryosuke curiously, as if interested in his presence. End of this chapter. Chapter 11. Chapter 11. The Zong family and the branch house Hyuga Hisashi and Hyuga Niji. The first time he saw the faces of the two, Ryosuke had the answer to their identities in his heart. The person who came was Hyuga Hayashi's twin brother, Hyuga Hisashi, who is also the current head of Hyuga branch house. And beside him, is his son Hyuga Niji. Sure enough, Hyuga Hayashi, who just went to Hinata's side and began to guide her to exercise, turned around, and the expression on his face suddenly became vigilant. While strolling to meet him, Hyuga Hayashi said blankly, "Hisashi, people in the branch house are not allowed to enter the family land of the clan at will." As he said that, he looked at Niji who was standing next to him again, "But Niji's grades in school are very good, I've heard it all, and the first grade in the entrance examination has brought honor to our Hyuga family. Thank you Uncle Patriarch for your compliment." Niji politely returned his compliment. "Don't praise him like that, it's just a fluke. The people who are in the same period as Niji are mediocre people, and there is no outstanding person to compare with him." When mentioning his son, although Hyuga Hisashi was full of humility, he had a proud smile on his face. Although there is no difference between Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi in appearance, the things they have experienced and the responsibilities they have taken have made their personalities very different. Especially Hyuga Hisashi, because he often worries about the affairs of the clan. He is obviously older than Hyuga Hisashi, who was born only a few minutes apart. "Hisashi uncle." At this time, Ryosuke and Hinata also temporarily finished their practice and came to say hello to their elders. Nodding coldly, Hyuga Hisashi said to the two, "Miss Hinata and Master Ryosuke will go to the ninja school next year, right? If you encounter any troubles at school, you can ask Niji for help." "Then Niji-san." Ryosuke nodded with a smile. Hyuga Hisashi is Hyuga Hayashi's younger brother and the person in charge of the branch house. Of course Ryosuke and him have met before. Hyuga hosts the clan meeting every year, and all Hyuga people who have the ability to fight or hold power need to participate, and the two of them, as members of the clan, are also fortunate to participate in the clan meeting at a young age. As for Niji, Ryosuke is meeting him for the first time, but Hinata is not seeing him for the first time. Because before he officially married, Hyuga Hisashi seemed to have committed something, which caused Hyuga Hisashi to be very wary of the people in the branch house. Except for guards and summons, people in the branch house are not allowed to enter and leave the clan land at will. So he has little chance to meet Niji. With a straight face, Niji seriously promised to the two elders, "When the time comes, I will take good care of Ms. Hinata and Master Ryosuke." Regarding his appearance as a little adult, Ryosuke observed silently, confirming that what he said was from the heart, not just pretending. This is the first impact of the plot change. The current Niji should have been branded as a caged bird, and he also understands his identity as a branch house and his responsibility to protect the clan. But it seems that because Hyuga Hisashi is still alive, he does not reject this identity for the time being. "Patriarch, I brought Niji here this time because his physical fitness has reached the standard for practicing 8 trigrams palms, so come here to ask for instructions." Hyuga Hisashi said to Hyuga Hisashi. "There is no need to come here in person for this kind of thing in the future." Hyuga Hayashi nodded, not paying much attention to this matter. "If you have nothing else to do, leave the scope of the sect as soon as possible." "I see." Hyuga Hisashi bent Kide respectfully, and took Niji away. Before leaving, he gave Hinata a somewhat complicated look with downcast eyes. Hyuga Hayashi didn't notice it, and neither did Hinata, but Ryosuke clearly took this scene into his eyes because of his height. "It seems that the relationship between the Zong family and the branch house is much colder than I imagined." After Hyuga Hisashi walked away, Ryosuke spoke again. "Hinata, you continue to practice." Hyuga Hayashi called Hinata away first, and then he was helpless Kide, who wants to have his wealth and life firmly in the hands of others. Besides, Niji's talent is really good. Compared with Hinata, in Hisashi's eyes, his son is more suitable to be the head of the family. Although their identities are different, the two brothers are twins after all. Compared with the previous generation's family and branch house, their relationship was pretty good at the beginning. At that time, Hisashi would often bring Niji to their house for small gatherings. But ever since Hisashi took Niji to watch him guide Hinata's practice, the relationship maintained by this family relationship suddenly broke down. After seeing Hinata's clumsy movements and weak temper, Hisashi couldn't accept that his talented son lost to Hinata for no reason because of his status, and might even be bound by her in the future, so he was murderous. Seeing that Hyuga Hayashi didn't continue to speak after saying this, Ryosuke answered flatly. Yes, he was murderous, and he was murderous towards his own niece. Hyuga Hayashi's eyes were full of regret. From that day on, the two brothers were only related by blood, not family. Sometimes he wondered if their relationship wouldn't have been the way it was if Hinata had been more talented and tougher. Perhaps Hisashi would be willing to let Niji assist Hinata and continue to control the entire Hyuga like the two brothers did in their early years, but unfortunately, Hinata has not met his expectations. So all along, he hated Hinata and was a little disappointed. Looking at his expression, Ryosuke said seriously, "It's not Hinata's fault. I know it's not her fault, but as a member of the main family, as the future head of the Hyuga clan, she can't lose to the branch house, but she can only disappoint me time and time again." Hyuga Hayashi shook his head. "It's good that you are here now, as Hinata's husband-in-law, you will take good care of her in the future and maintain our position as the master of this lineage, right?" Watching Ryosuke carefully, he waited for his reply. In the practice field under the scorching sun, the only sound left was Hinata's sound during practice. The two looked at each other, and the atmosphere was quiet for a while, before Ryosuke smiled kind, "I will work hard, you know, things like fate are unpredictable. Konoha is not as peaceful as we imagined, and the ninja world cannot always be peaceful. If something unexpected happens, I probably won't have the chance to see that day." Without his promise, Hyuga Hayashi shook his head regretfully, "With your character and ability, as long as you grow enough to become a ninja, even if there are only 10 people left in Konoha village under the smoke of war, I believe there will be you one." Seemingly unwilling to continue on this issue, he changed the subject, "But just now Hisashi mentioned the issue of going to school, what do you think about this? Going to school seems unnecessary to you, it's just a waste of your time." End of this chapter. Chapter 12. Chapter 12 involved school is a very good place to socialize. Even if it's not for learning, getting to know more people in school and getting to know more children from other families will be beneficial to Hyuga's future development. Ryosuke bluntly refuted Hyuga Hayashi's opinion. Besides, although the Hyuga clan has the right to directly grant genin qualifications, they don't need to go to school, don't need graduation exams, and don't need the number of tasks required. They can directly participate in the genin assessment, but this is too obvious. It's obvious to tell other people in the village, tell the senior management of the village that you value my son-in-law very much, and this will cause me trouble. Until I grow up and have the ability to protect myself, I don't want to show my face too much in front of Konoha's senior management. Although Konoha was originally a village composed of alliances of major families. But with the passage of time, many people have now abandoned the concept of family and turned to the village as a collective. These include, but are not limited to, the Konoha high-rises of Sarutobi Hiruzen, Shimura Dans, Inoshika Ch, and many others. Just like the will of fire that has been spread in the village, Senjo Hashirama, the originator of this selfless spirit, hopes that all families in the village can put aside the selfish concept of the family and take the village as the center in their hearts. As the heirs of this spirit, they are willing to abandon the family for the sake of the village. Therefore, the ethnic groups in the village who have always maintained the concept of family will inevitably be rejected, and the most dazzling one is the proud Uchiha clan. Although the Hyuga clan has always shown an indisputable attitude under the leadership of Hyuga Hayashi, because of their long history and combat power, the high-level vigilance has not weakened. Under such circumstances, it would be too dangerous to jump out of a young genius like him. And if you want to hide yourself, the easiest thing is not to specialize. Graduating early like Uchiha Itachi and Hotaki Kakashi is to expose themselves to all the high-level members of Konoha and strengthen the village's attention to them. This practice may bring them fame and admiration from many. But in fact, they did not get any real benefits, but were exploited repeatedly. I understand. Hyuga Hayashi nodded, he was not thinking carefully. But then, he thought of the speed at which Ryosuke had mastered the gentle fist method just now, and said helplessly, "But with your talent and ability, even if you don't go to school and practice at home, I may not be able to teach you for long. Don't worry, although I learn things quickly, it will take a long time to truly transform into myself." Ryosuke smiled kind, "I just hope that you can seriously fight with me once a week. Practicing alone is a very boring and rigid thing, I need to feel the real battle. Or, you can help me with some cover, so that I can leave the village without anyone noticing, and go outside the village to meet real ninjas. I definitely agree with the actual combat, but if you leave the village, I will not agree with you to leave the village until you have no real strength to protect yourself." When it comes to leaving the village, Ryosuke has always attached great importance to him. Hyuga Hayashi, who is willing to listen to his opinions, strongly refused. The Hyuga clan is too obvious in appearance. If you leave the village, you will be ambushed by the enemy's spies if you are not careful. Your existence is too important to the family, I hope you can understand what I mean. After speaking, he looked at Ryosuke seriously. The attitude is obvious, this question does not allow him to be as foolish as before. I understand this, but I also want you to be clear that a ninja who has not experienced blood is not a real ninja. Ryosuke reminded him helplessly. He felt this doting and attention, but he didn't want to be protected too well, just like Ma Bayanin. After pondering for a while, Hyuga Hayashi nodded, I will arrange this when I get a chance. He knew that Ryosuke couldn't stay in the village all the time. Even members of the Hyuga clan may be forcibly dispatched by the village to the battlefield under special circumstances. One more thing, since you choose to go to school, I have a task for you, which is to guide Hinata on how to become a qualified head of the family. Hyuga Hayashi looked at Hinata, who was not far away, who was working hard to temper his physique. I know you have been trying to correct Hinata's character recently, and it has worked. Although it's embarrassing to say it, in terms of education, I, a father, can't do as well as a 4-year-old like you, but since you have this idea, I will entrust this matter to you. If you want me to give encouragement to Hinata, then I will praise her from time to time, but I have a request, don't let Hinata fall too far behind Niji. People in the Zone family must not lose to people in the branch house. She is my wife, of course I will take good care of her. Ryosuke nodded with a chuckle, and also turned his gaze to the hard-working figure at the edge of the practice field. Clan and branch house are actually not important. The Hyuga family is the descendants of the blood relatives of the Sage of Six Paths, Tsutsuki Hamura in ancient times, and is also a branch of the Tsutsuki family. Thousands of years ago, Tsutsuki Hamura led some of his descendants to the moon through space-time ninjutsu, and observed the ninja world created by his big brother from the moon. And after 1,000 years, in the present world, the only ethnic group that still considers itself as the Tsutsuki clan is the one on the moon. The Tsutsuki Hamura clan who remained on this planet at that time became the current Hyuga. About the Hyuga family, the branch house vowed to defend the clan to the death. This extremely strict and cruel family inheritance system was also passed down to the Tsutsuki family. Strictly speaking, the entire Hyuga family on this planet is also the branch house of the lineage on the moon. As for the so-called caged bird, the secret art revolving heaven that only the clan can practice, any high-level spell in the clan, people in the branch house need to ask the clan for instructions first, and all these rules are only in the past 1,000 years. The bad habits extended by the clan in order to protect their own status. But about these things, Ryosuke will not reveal to Hyuga Hayashi, because these are not important. All kinds of conspiracies and calculations are false in his heart. He came to this world as an outsider, but he is a bystander and clearly sees through the essence of this world. Strength is the keynote of this world. Only one's own strength can determine whether one is a clan or a branch house. Father, I feel that I have almost rested. I hope to learn all the secret arts of Hyuga as soon as possible, so that it will be easier for me to integrate into my own fighting style later. Turning his head, Ryosuke looked at Hyuga Hayashi beside him. And Hyuga Hayashi nodded silently. There is no such thing as step-by-step, and the idea of chewing too much. 5-year-old Niji has reached the standard of practicing 8 trigrams palms, and 11-year-old Uchiha Itachi has become a Chunin. Everyone else is working hard, and Ryosuke should be like them. Although there is no way to show his ability wantonly, Hyuga Hayashi hopes that in his heart, Ryosuke will always be the best talent. End of this chapter. Chapter 13. Chapter 13 The Hunter and the Prey. Ding ding ding. The sound of metal collisions exploded continuously in the void. A thin and short black shadow flashed quickly in the forest, stretching its body wantonly in the huge independent practice field of the Hyuga clan. And behind this black shadow, there is another tall and strong figure, who is calmly following behind, throwing out the kunao in the ninja bag from time to time to disturb him. Similarly, kunao was mixed with a shuriken, and all kinds of ninja tools were thrown out like bullets in Ryosuke's hands, and shot towards Hyuga Hayashi, who was chasing after him, trying to stop his pursuit, but also shoot down the ninja thrown by Hyuga Hayashi. At this moment, the speed and strength were brought to the ultimate level. Ryosuke's spirit was tense, but his brain was extremely clear. The internal organs in the body are running fast, adapting to the load on the body itself under the violent action. In addition to thinking about this battle, he has given up other thoughts in his mind. This is a battle that he has never experienced in his previous life. This kind of confrontation between cold weapons and real battles were strictly prohibited in his previous life. But this didn't make Ryosuke feel any discomfort, but extreme excitement. In his mind, scenes that only appeared in anime or film clips, now he can do it too. This feeling is amazing, and he enjoys the process very much. But while he was excited, he was calm at the same time, a kind of extremely calm after being excited to ultimate. Only in the dark of night, Ryosuke's expressionless face that can only appear when he is alone appears on Ryosuke's face. He takes this actual battle seriously and enjoys it very much. There is no need to look back, facing the kunao or shurikens who are also shooting at the same speed. The white eyes on Ryosuke's face can give a clear insight into all the surrounding situations in all directions. The petite and immature body dexterously dodges the bombardment of these ninja tools. He is like an elf in the jungle, showing his seductive dancing posture. But this beauty is not what Ryosuke deliberately pursues. He pays more attention to practicality than good-looking play. Every dodge he made was very subtle, almost passing by, almost hitting his body. But this is not for the pursuit of excitement, not for the rapid secretion of adrenaline, but for a smaller range of motion, so that there is more room for change. The greater the range of motion, the greater the inertia created. At this time, once the enemy changes the way of attack and the fighting skills, it is likely that they will be overwhelmed. It's like a person jumping up to dodge an attack, but he has nowhere to leverage in the air, so he can only become a living target. And the more subtle the movement to dodge, once the enemy changes the attack method, he also has enough space to change his dodge movement. Chasing behind with a straight face, Hyuga Hayashi is very satisfied with Ryosuke's performance. After only a few actual battles, he can handle such fierce battles with ease, and his talent is already very high. Time to crank up the difficulty a bit. Hyuga Hayashi thought to himself. But at this moment, when the force in his hand broke out again, and Kuwu hit it at a faster speed than before, Ryosuke in his eyes suddenly slowed down. Ryosuke's movement is wrong. And the kunao he just shot was aimed at the back of Ryosuke's head. For a moment, a stern look flashed in Hyuga Hayashi's eyes, the chakra attached to the solace of his feet exploded, and the movements on his feet accelerated sharply. The figure that could be seen clearly in Ryosuke's eyes suddenly became only an afterimage. The strong wind rolled up as he moved, cutting the fallen leaves blocking the way in half. Facing Ryosuke's mistake, Hyuga Hayashi actually tried to intercept the kunao he just threw in the air at a faster speed. And just when he came to the boundless suffering, he stretched out his hand to try to grasp the bitterness. The next moment, Ryosuke, who had his back turned to him, suddenly turned around and rushed towards him, and struck him with chakra's palm, regardless of the kunao who was about to hit him. Immediately afterwards, under Hyuga Hayashi's gratified eyes, Ryosuke in front of him directly passed through kunao, and the palm that should have hit him also passed through. This is the first time, in such a long time of actual combat exercises, Ryosuke tried to change the identity of his prey. But it's a pity. The same tactic, I won't be easily fooled a second time. Hyuga Hayashi's tone was full of admiration, then he turned around suddenly, and hit himself behind with a palm. The last time he was fooled was entirely because he just treated Ryosuke as an ordinary kid. But this time, he no longer treats Ryosuke as a child, but as a real ninja. The battle between ninjas has not been taken lightly. Even though he has not opened his eyes now and has no way to fully defend his whole body, but as Janin's powerful perception ability, he has already noticed that something is wrong behind him. Sure enough, another Ryosuke came behind him without knowing when, and was rushing towards him with 8 trigrams palms, ready to bombard the acupoints on his back and seal his chakra. Smiling and waving his palms, Hyuga Hayashi leaned forward and also swung 8 trigrams palms, intending to counteract his strength. These are the children of their Hyuga clan, the children of their clan. Facing such an excellent junior, Hyuga Hayashi's sense of relief and pride was greatly satisfied, which made him no longer rigid and serious as usual. Ryosuke, making up for the disappointment Hinata gave him. But at this moment, Hyuga Hayashi, who was still rushing forward, suddenly stopped. His vigilance as a ninja made him instinctively aware of danger. And the source of danger is definitely not Ryosuke in front of him, or his 8 trigrams palms. Roll your eyes, open. Without any hesitation, Ryosuke in front of him was attacking him, but the sense of danger in his heart was so real that Hyuga Hayashi, who didn't intend to use the white eyes, had to activate his pupil technique. The veins around the eye sockets popped up, and the chakra in the body rushed up to the eyes. There is nothing unusual, everything in front of me is still the same as before. But there is no change, which makes Hyuga Hayashi even more wrong, because the Ryosuke rushing towards him in front of him is also a clone. There is no trace of chakra flowing in his body. So where is the real Ryosuke? Where is that deadly sense of danger? Bring the white eyes to ultimate, and with the injection of a larger chakra, the world in front of Hyuga Hayashi has become different. The expression on his face became astonished, and then he couldn't believe it. Illusion. In front of Ryosuke is no longer one person, but two people. One of them was Ryosuke, who was first seen waving at him with a blank face. And the other one was Ryosuke, who was standing less than 2 steps away from him. At this time, he was smiling and holding up a handful of kunao, horizontally in the air. If he hadn't noticed the danger just now and charged straight up, he would definitely hit this sharp kunao, although judging from Ryosuke's position, this kunao would only scratch his left shoulder. But if he really scratched his left shoulder, it means that Ryosuke can win the actual combat exercise just now. Although it was just an exercise, it was also a very embarrassing thing. I thought, with my ability, it is impossible for the attack that can be caused to be silent, so I can only come up with this way, let you take the initiative to hit my kunao. Only in this way, you won't notice any sound when you attack, but you still see it through unexpectedly. Is this the so-called combat awareness? Even if you can't see it, your body can instinctively detect danger. Ryosuke smiled, silently retracting kunao. After learning the gentle fist method, he and Hyuga Hayashi conduct a practical exercise every other week. But in so many times, this was his first attempt to become a hunter, and he failed unexpectedly. End of this chapter. Chapter 14. Chapter 14. The so-called combat talent. Ryosuke's white eyes have the power of illusion, which can confuse and control part of people's nerves, and Hyuga Hayashi knows this. He has mastered the 3-body technique, and is extremely proficient in the clone technique among the 3, and the speed of forming seals is enough to deceive most people. Hyuga Hayashi has also seen this. But under such circumstances, Ryosuke still used the means he knew to set up the game, and almost hurt him. What was used in this process was nothing more than his psychological thoughts. Extremely meticulous combat talent. This is the evaluation given to Ryosuke by Hyuga Hayashi in this actual combat exercise, and it is also the highest evaluation in these several actual combat exercises. The so-called combat talent does not mean how powerful or how fast one is. It refers to whether you can respond to the battle situation at the first time during the battle and inflict the greatest damage on the enemy in the battle. Today's battle made Hyuga Hayashi very gratified. Until the end of the dinner, the smile on his face never faded, even if his own performance today was a bit embarrassing. His reaction this time was huge, stronger than every time he had discovered something extraordinary about Ryosuke. Even when Ryosuke learned the gentle fist method once, it didn't bring him such a big surprise. Because there are too many ninjas in this world who have a lot of strength but can't show it, even Hyuga Hayashi himself. As the head of the clan, he can see far more than many ordinary ninjas. Many ordinary ninjas believe that the number of ninjutsu, genjutsu, taijutsu mastered, or the amount of chakra, physical fitness, and other factors can determine a person's strength. So they desperately want to make contributions in exchange for the opportunity to learn powerful spells. But in fact, many people who are at the top like Hyuga Hayashi know that spiritual talent is not that important in this world. The time it takes to learn or develop ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu, the attributes of chakra, etc. These things that seem to determine a person's talent can only be said to be the basis of a ninja. The predecessors planted trees, and the descendants enjoyed the shade. Not to mention those small countries, the 5 major ninja villages in the 5 major countries. Basically every village has a complete set of teaching plans. Like konoha, ordinary people can study in ninja school for at least 6 years, and those with outstanding talents can complete all their studies in advance and pass the exam to apply for graduation. During this period of time, all the preparatory ninjas will learn all the knowledge necessary to be a ninja. After graduating from school, Genin will lead the team to reduce the death rate of genin. This period of time is very long. If you are in a period of truce, basically, as long as there are no accidents during the transition period from genin to chunin, it is absolutely safe. Only when you arrive at chunin and master 1 or 2 life-saving ninjutsu, illusion, and physical skills can you face real danger. With such a long practice time, basically anyone who studies hard can master the way to win in battle. But in fact, there are very few people who can apply all these learnings to battles. Most ninjas can only use 5% to 10% of what they have learned in battle at the beginning level. Immediately afterwards, this situation will improve with continuous fighting and accumulated combat experience, but the upper limit will not exceed 50%. And only those who are extremely talented in combat can use what they have learned to a level of more than 50%, or even 100%. Like the 4th generation project, he is a fighting genius with a commoner attitude, relying on his outstanding fighting talent, and stepping out of his own path little by little. This kind of combat talent can only be relied on innate in most cases, and only a few people can transform and increase their upper limit through accumulated combat experience. That's why Hyuga Hayashi's reaction was so big. Ryosuke is very likely to be a genius who is extremely talented in both cultivation and combat, a natural ninja. But soon, he calmed down again. As for whether Ryosuke is also talented in combat, he still needs a practical test. After all, the battle between him and Ryosuke can only be said to be an actual combat exercise, a simulated battle, not a real life and death fight. But Hyuga Hayashi hesitated when he thought that Ryosuke might encounter uncontrollable dangers if he left the village, and might die halfway on the road of growth. As for what Hyuga Hayashi had in mind, Ryosuke didn't know. At this time, he was hanging out with Hinata in Konoha village. The time for practicing and exercising is very boring. Although boring doesn't mean Ryosuke doesn't like it, but occasionally he needs to relax. Why do you have such a straight face? It scared the owner of the meatball stall. Ryosuke looked beside him helplessly, and stared straight ahead at Hinata expressionlessly. Ever since she went out, her expression has always been like this, and she is taciturn. Although she used to talk very little, this time it was completely different. But every time she spoke, there was that time when Ryosuke used illusion to control the shadow of her body when she spoke. It was a bit cold, but it didn't have the momentum to control the overall situation. She was learning and imitating herself at that time, and she wanted to be that person. Hearing Ryosuke's words, Hinata turned his head, the expressionless expression on his face softened, and he whispered into his ear and explained, "I don't know how to become a qualified head of the family, but I think my father is a qualified homeowner." There is no doubt that she attributed her original behavior to the explanation that she subconsciously learned her father's behavior in a panic. It's okay to pretend to be an expert without talking. Ryosuke looked at her dumbfounded, but still acquiesced in such a way. This is indeed a good way. There are many ways to be the head of the family, but there is no doubt that they all need to have a strong aura, whether it is fierce or cold. If Hinata could use this method to find out what kind of patriarch he wanted to be, he wouldn't interfere. Anyway, this is just her performance outside. When she is at home, her emotions are quite normal, at least she won't be so stern and speak without emotion. Along the way, Hinata has attracted the attention of many people on the street, of course because of her identity and her changes. What happened in the park before has been brought home by many children, and they are told to their parents as interesting stories in their spare time. And their parents, like the diners in the restaurant, spread the word again when discussing the children of these big families. However, the change of a person cannot be felt by just one thing. Now it's almost time for the ninja school to leave school. We should enroll next year. Maybe we can use this time to get familiar with the school first. By the way, let's see what the level of students in Niji's class is. What should we do? Only in this way can we be the first in the grade. Looking at Hinata beside him, Ryosuke suggested. End of this chapter. Chapter 15. Chapter 15. She will work hard. It's different from Ryosuke's last life when he got out of school after 5 o'clock and even had to study by himself late. The ninja school dismisses very early, and the day's classes are over at just 3 o'clock. However, the end of the course does not mean that there is no redundant content. Just like in the previous world, many families who were able to bear the financial pressure would enroll their children in various cram schools after school, and this situation also exists in this world. After 3 o'clock, it can be said that school is over, and it can also be said that it is time for free activities. Students who don't want to study and work hard can leave the school at will, and the teachers in the school will no longer restrain them. For children who are willing to stay in school and continue to learn, the teachers in the school will teach according to their actual situation. Which students usually work harder, or have a better relationship with them, they will guide those students. So, even after school time has passed, there are still a huge number of students working hard in ninja school, including Hyuga Niji. This is very true. Even if the senior management of the village knew about this situation, they did not stop it too much, and did not try to make the school environment fairer, because this is also part of the ninja curriculum. There is no absolute fairness in this world. What's more, when ninjas are pursuing power, many factors will determine their future, and these are also impossible to be fair. Of course, regarding these things, it only applies to ordinary classes. Like Hyuga Niji's, there are only elite classes with excellent entrance scores, and this will not happen. In this class, almost all of them are from family background, so there is no need for them to please the teacher for better teaching resources. The children of their family background stayed in the school, and they used this opportunity to compete with other students of the same class and accumulate practical experience. To be honest, this is a bit far from what Ryosuke knew, but it was also expected. In his previous life, he lived in a world without demons, a very ordinary technological age, and there were various laws to maintain social order. But even then, many people work so hard in order to have enough food and to get ahead. And in this cruel ninja world, as long as you stop your pace, as long as you relax, you will probably pay your life when performing tasks in the future. In this atmosphere, who would treat the profession of ninja with a playful attitude, not to mention that children in this world are generally precocious. Perhaps only those who are isolated, excluded from the atmosphere, and do not feel any sense of urgency or crisis can play heartlessly. There is no rule that non-students of the school are not allowed to enter the school. After entering the school, they just asked a random student to inquire. Ryosuke and his group of 4 easily found Hyuga Niji. His reputation is indeed not small in the school. Standing on the edge of the huge practice field of the ninja school, Hyuga Hinata asked Niji next to him blankly, "Niji big brother, can you introduce me? Is there anyone in your class who is more worthy of attention?" She still remembered what Ryosuke said, "Come and find out what level it takes to be the number 1 in age." Niji froze for a moment, seemed a little surprised by Hinata's expression and tone, but quickly said, "Of course, Miss Hinata." On the other side, Ryosuke, who couldn't find the yellow-haired boy in the crowd of people in the training ground, looked away with some disappointment, and focused on the conversation between the two. In fact, the point of coming to school this time is that he wants to meet Naruto by chance. But maybe he hasn't enrolled yet, but logically, he should fail to graduate twice. If he graduated at the same age as Sasuke and Hinata in the original story, he should have entered school 2 years earlier, but it seems, that is not the case. Men of the Uchiha clan, 3. Not surprisingly, among the chaotic crowd in the training ground, Niji was the first to introduce Uchiha, a rich family with equal status in the village. 2 men and 1 woman were also standing on the edge of the practice field. All 3 of them were wearing dark blue tops with fan-like family emblems embroidered on the back. At this moment, they were standing on the practice ground, looking out of tune with the surrounding atmosphere, scanning the crowd with haughty and indifferent eyes, and even turning their attention to Ryosuke and the others from time to time, to be precise, Hyuga Niji. Whether it's taijutsu, ninjutsu, or illusion, they are all extremely proficient. What they like to do most every day is to beat the endless stream of people who come to challenge us after school, so as to satisfy their narrow vanity. Hyuga Niji introduced, with disdain in his tone. Then, has Niji big brother challenged them? Hinata asked curiously, but her tone remained indifferent. She seems to have been self-hypnosis for a long time during this period, and also imitated the original state for a long time. From going out to the present, except for the fact that she breaks her power when talking to Ryosuke, she has maintained herself very well. I challenge them. Niji raised his voice as if insulted. But after seeing the eyes of Ryosuke and the 2 guards behind him, he quickly restrained his emotions. It should be them who challenged me. Whether it is actual combat or theoretical courses, I have maintained the first place in the grade. Then Niji big brother won. Hinata asked again. Of course, although they are very strong, I am still better. Hyuga Niji said proudly, since speaking of Uchiha, Miss Hinata, there is one thing I need to remind you. In the previous ninja school, our Hyuga clan and the Uchiha clan were basically competing with each other, but this year, I have defeated them to get the first position and maintained our Hyuga status. As the clan, you must not lose to Uchiha in the same class. If you lose, it will embarrass our Hyuga clan, and it will embarrass the clan leader and the clan. Do you understand this? After speaking, he looked at Hinata seriously. This time, instead of looking at Niji, the 2 guards behind Ryosuke looked at Hinata. As ninjas, they also experienced the struggle between the Hyuga and Uchiha clan in their school days. If Hinata really can't compare with Uchiha of their class at that time, it will really embarrass the entire Hyuga company. After all, only the Zone family can afford the word Hyuga. All of a sudden, Hinata, who was still expressionless but managed her facial expressions well, felt flustered. She felt the great pressure from the 3 people around her. This is not the oppression of momentum, but the oppression of words and responsibility. But when Hinata faced the three of them, he felt a little overwhelmed, almost unable to maintain his expression and mentality, and lowered his head again. Ryosuke stood up in good time, protected her behind, looked at Niji with a smile. She will work hard. End of this chapter. Chapter 16. Chapter 16. Rock Lee keeping an eye on Ryosuke. Hyuga Niji is the second time seeing this lucky guy. The first time was when I accompanied my father to the training ground that day and asked the patriarch to practice 8 trigrams palms. This was the second time, but no matter which meeting, this guy didn't bring him any sense of threat or pressure other than his appearance. There was no news about his strength in the village, or even in the clan. The name Hyuga Ryosuke is no stranger to the Hyuga clan. Many people, including him, know that Ryosuke was taken in by the patriarch because of his talent and being an orphan. As the patriarch only had 2 daughters, he was lucky enough to be hired as the son-in-law near Shualihutai first, without having to be crowned caged bird, and jumped from the branch house to the clan. But until now, Hyuga Ryosuke has not shown any signs of so-called talent, has not gained any good reputation, and appears extremely mediocre. To be honest, Hyuga Niji is a bit jealous about this. If the father is not the patriarch's younger brother, if their blood relationship can be further away, maybe the person standing beside Ms. Hinata now should be him. Hyuga Niji has always believed that only a genius like him is qualified to become a clan. Ryosuke, just a lucky branch house guy, same branch house as him. Niji brother can introduce other noteworthy people. About Uchiha, Hinata herself will work hard. Although feeling the faint hostility in Niji's eyes, Ryosuke didn't care, and smiled for Hinata to change the topic. It's too obvious, this time without Hyuga Hayashi and Hyuga Hisashi present, Niji's inner thoughts are clearly revealed, his straight eyes almost write the words "I'm jealous of you" on his forehead. Children in this world are precocious, and Ryosuke has long felt that. But precocity does not mean intelligence. This kind of precocity is just a matter of course under the influence of the world background. As an outsider, with the thoughts of the previous world, he will feel that the children of this world are precocious. But people who are in this world themselves will not think these children are so amazing, unless they can behave like Ryosuke in the eyes of Hyuga Hayashi, then maybe it will be worth paying attention to. Hyuga Niji shook his head, turned his head to look at Hinata and explained, there are no other people worth noting. The children of my family are all mediocre. Ryosuke asked again, what about the civilians? Glancing at him, Niji still spoke back to Hinata, among the common people, there is one person I care more about, called Tian Tian. Although she is not from a ninja family, her family has been in business for generations. She is a well-known family of merchants in the Land of Fire, and holds 80% of the ninja business in Konoha village. If we can make friends with her, we Hyuga can get a lot of convenience in terms of ninja tools. Is this so? It makes sense. Hinata has been a little uneasy since just mentioning the battle between Hyuga and the Uchiha clan, and casually replied to Niji. She took Ryosuke's palm. Ryosuke, it's about time we go back. Feeling the urgency in her heart, Ryosuke smiled and rubbed her hair. You go back first, I have something to do. As he said that, he turned his head to look at Zonkai and Zinkai behind him. You all go back with Hinata and keep her safe. But. Hinata hesitated and didn't agree. Outsiders may not know it, even Tsuji and the others themselves don't know it, but she has always understood that the 2 of them were actually assigned to her by her father to protect Ryosuke. She was just a cover to hide how much he valued Ryosuke. Don't worry, I'll go back soon, be obedient. Ryosuke waved to her with a smile, without giving her another chance to keep her, turned around and walked towards the training ground. Just now, he seemed to have seen a figure worth noting and worth investing in advance, Lock Lee. Glancing at the back of Ryosuke leaving, Niji turned his head to the embarrassed Hinata and said, Miss Hinata, it's about time for me to go back, I can be with you. No need. An indifferent voice sounded. Watching Ryosuke's back disappear into the crowd, Hinata's expression suddenly became colder, as if layers of barriers were raised around him to isolate everyone. She turned around and left directly. What Niji said to her just now put too much pressure on her and made her feel uncomfortable. Now she just wants to go home and practice hard, at least, not to lose to the next Uchiha. Watching Hinata leave in astonishment, Niji was a little dazed. He had never seen Hinata like this before, and at that moment just now, he had a feeling of inferiority when facing Hyuga Hayashi. As if being overlooked and alienated. Frowning, this feeling didn't displease Niji, but a sense of respect rose. This is the clan, the clan he guards and yearns for. On the other side, Ryosuke, who walked in from the edge of the training ground, came to the center. The training ground is very large, much larger than the independent training ground of the Hyuga clan, occupying almost 1/10 of the entire Konoha village. As the only ninja school in the village, the educational resources of the entire village are devoted to this school. The entire practice field is divided into the edge area and the center area. The edge area is where Ryosuke and the others were just now, and they can observe everything in the entire practice field from a commanding height. Usually, the teachers of the school would observe the students inside from the edge. The central area is divided into the first practice field, the second practice field, and the third practice field. There are a total of 11 practice fields, forests, waterfalls, streams, and various combat environments. The place where Ryosuke came is the third training ground, which is a very ordinary wilderness and flat environment. Because there are no obstacles that can be avoided, the students who are practicing here want to have a face-to-face confrontation. But now, the Lock Lee he was paying attention to was fighting against a member of the Inyazuka family, surrounded by many people. As for why it can be identified as a member of the Inyazuka family, it is not because Ryosuke knows this person, but because he is fighting with dogs. Although not every ninja with a dog is an Inyazuka clan, their fighting style is still obvious. While using clones and substitutes to interfere with Lock Lee and drain his energy, the members of the Inyazuka clan persuaded him, "Lee, your shortcomings are too obvious, you can't master the three-body technique, and you can't resist the illusion. Wait to become a real ninja. Even if you spent time and learned the three-body technique, your talent has already made you far behind by others. In such a situation, it is very dangerous to become a ninja and face people from other villages. No ridicule, no disdain." His tone was sincere and persuasive from the heart. The duel between the two is a bit like cat and mouse. Lock Lee is like a headless chicken, being played around by several clones. After finally finding his real body, he was easily dodged by the body replacement technique. "I will succeed." But even so, Lock Lee's face was still full of determination. No matter how many clones, no matter how many attacks failed because of the body replacement technique, he still insisted on taking the initiative to attack. As long as he works hard, he will be able to hit. It can be said that he is dead-brained, but he only wants to be a ninja. As for such a scene, many onlookers sighed silently. They admire this spirit of perseverance, but as a ninja, it is inappropriate to be inappropriate, and it is useless to force, otherwise they may pay the price of their lives for it. End of this chapter. Chapter 17. Chapter 17. People in the same situation. No one will make enemies for themselves casually, and no one will hate someone for no reason. Although the students in the same class as Lock Lee have only studied in the ninja school for 1 year, there is already a gap between them and other children. Although they have lost their freedom and can no longer play as lawlessly as before, but while the rules of the school restrain them, knowledge is also affecting and transforming them. Like Lock Lee, there are not many people with poor talents in ninjutsu and illusion in the school, and there are almost every class. But like Lock Lee, even though he knew he had no chance to become a ninja, there were too few people who persisted, almost none. A person with such perseverance will only make the classmates around him feel sorry and feel pity. The battle in the third practice field lasted for a long time, and Ryosuke, as a spectator, quietly watched the whole process from the sidelines. Compared with his opponent, Lock Lee is much stronger in terms of physical fitness, whether it is speed or strength. He is also faster than the Inyazuka clan. And the taijutsu he used, although it was only the common konoha fluid jutsu taught by the ninja school, was extremely skillful in use. When fighting, even if he doesn't know ninjutsu, his advantages in physical skills and physical fitness make up for his shortcomings. It's just not enough. I lost. Although Lock Lee's perseverance is very tenacious, he successfully supported the opponent's chakra until there was only a trace left. It's a pity that he also doesn't have the ability to continue fighting. Although his opponent is short of chakra, he still has physical strength. You are already very good, but you should think more about becoming a ninja. Satisfied, the Inyazuka clan made a seal of reconciliation, and then persuaded Lock Lee, and then withdrew from the training ground. Lock Lee didn't say much, and quietly retreated from the training ground. "Lee, do you want to continue the actual combat? Or, this is the end of today?" Beside, many people couldn't wait to ask. "Sorry, I can only go here today, and my physical strength is exhausted." Lock Lee greeted these people apologetically. Others were obviously a little disappointed. People like Lok Lee, who were extremely skilled in physical arts but knew nothing about ninjutsu, were almost the best training objects, and they could bring them a lot of actual combat experience. Therefore, his popularity in the school is actually pretty good, and many people will have practical discussions with him after school. It was getting dark. Standing silently by the side of the practice field and resting for a while, after recovering a little physical strength, Lok Lee was about to leave school and end today's study. Ryosuke didn't go up to talk to him immediately, he strolled behind him, but didn't hide himself. It wasn't until he walked out of the school gate that he quickened his pace to catch up. The battle just now was wonderful. Coming to Lok Lee, Ryosuke noticed that his expression was a bit gloomy. It seemed that he was still very concerned about the loss of the battle just now. He is not the Lok Lee who is getting more and more courageous and going forward bravely. He has not met the greatest luck in his life, that is, the mentor might guy. Are you Hyuga? Ryosuke's accusation made Lok Lee stop for a moment, and after seeing his appearance clearly, he quickly recognized his identity. My name is Hyuga Ryosuke. Ryosuke smiled and said, your name is Lok Lee, right? I wrote it down. After watching the battle just now, I think you can become a very powerful ninja in the future. His tone was gentle and friendly. Facing his familiarity and his identity, Lok Lee replied at a loss, Did you watch the entire battle just now? Of course, I've been there from the beginning. Ryosuke nodded, are you in a hurry to go home? I can treat you to eat as a reward for the wonderful battle you showed me just now, and you can also replenish your energy by the way. No need. Lok Lee waved his hands in a panic, if you watched the entire battle just now, you should know that I don't even have the qualifications to become a ninja, and I can't learn ninjutsu at all. He was not used to this kind of enthusiasm. Especially in Ryosuke's words, the admiration for him made him panic. Is it? I misunderstood something. I know that you haven't learned the three-body technique, and it's even difficult to refine chakra. Ryosuke said softly, but your talent in physical skills is really good, it's just a simple konoha fluid technique. I am very concerned about the fact that you can all play out your own fighting style. In the battle just now, you almost succeeded a few times, didn't you? It's just that he lacked a little bit of speed and a little bit of strength, so he couldn't even use the body replacement technique in time. If you can work harder, maybe next time, you can have a chance to defeat the person just now and become the winner. The footsteps that stopped have unconsciously started to move. And Lok Lee has been following him out of politeness. But if I only know physical skills, there is no way for me to become a ninja. It is difficult for me to even graduate from the most basic level. Lok Lee said distressedly. He didn't know why he suddenly started chatting with this man he had never met before. Maybe it was because what he usually heard told him to give up, but now someone suddenly told him that he could actually do it. This situation made Lok Lee unable to help but want to refute Ryosuke with various reasons, and by the way let himself see the reality clearly. Of course, part of the reason is because the smile on his face is very sunny, and he is a person of similar age. The graduation assessment of ninja school is not so rigid. Special talents have special graduation channels. Ryosuke said casually as he walked forward. And there are ninjas like you who are only talented in physical skills, but ordinary, or even poor in other aspects, it's not like there are none. Lok Lee stopped abruptly, staring at Ryosuke with wide eyes. And Ryosuke also stopped, but he didn't continue to speak. Here, Ichiraku Ramen, seems to be quite famous. Looking at the small noodle stall with endless customers in front of him, Ryosuke opened the curtain and walked in first. I have always wanted to try the famous Ichiraku Ramen in this ninja world, but because I was busy practicing and had no chance to go out, I delayed it for so many years. Just now, he can try the ramen here, and by the way, see if he can squat down that yellow-haired brat. Wait. Please tell me clearly, is there anyone like me? Facing Ryosuke, who was half-spoken, Lok Lee hurried to catch up, and he didn't care about being polite, ashamed to invite people who met for the first time to treat him. Of course, the world is so big, and there are all kinds of people. Although we can't say that the situation is exactly the same, they are pretty much the same. Ryosuke replied while sitting on the platform in front of the noodle stall, a large portion of Tongatsu Charsu Ramen. End of this chapter. Chapter 18. Chapter 18 Guidance. Is there a ninja like me who knows only physical skills? As soon as he entered the noodle stall, Lok asked impatiently, his face full of anxiety. He has heard too many denials, and he urgently needs a senior who can only do martial arts like him, but has successfully become a ninja. Of course it is impossible to only know taijutsu, but compared to ninjutsu and illusion, he can become Jainin more because of his achievements in taijutsu. Ryosuke answered his question while eating noodles. Might Guy, Jainin, claims to be Konoha's proud blue beast, and has a very high attainment in physical arts. When he was young, he was just like you. Apart from physical skills, he was mediocre in ninjutsu and illusion. But now, relying on his own efforts, he has become the well-known Jainin in Konoha village. Many ninjas of his age are still wandering in Chunin and even Genin. Of course, some of them are no longer ninjas. On Jainin. Mentioning this unreachable vocabulary, Lock Lee's eyes were full of yearning, but soon he became disappointed again. But my talent in other aspects other than physical skills is not mediocre and can be compared, it should be said to be poor. I don't think I will ever learn ninjutsu in my life, and if I can't even learn the basic three-body technique, becoming a ninja is just a wish. How do you know it's a luxury if you haven't tried it? After taking a few big mouthfuls, the Ryosuke bowl has bottomed out. It's not that the portion of this bowl of noodles is too small, but that in this ninja world, practice is a very energy-consuming thing. Over time, the food intake of the people here will be relatively large, especially for families like Hyuga, which mainly focus on physical skills. Boss, please have another bowl of the same one, how about you? Do you want another bowl? Ordering another bowl of ramen from Ichiraku noodle shop, Ryosuke looked at Roque Lee next to him. No. No need. Being treated was already very embarrassing. Lock Lee waved his hand, and then got down to business. I've tried too many times, since I knew I had no talent in other areas, I specialized in physical arts. Every day I try to fight with different people, no matter what venue, no matter whether they are in the same grade or not, I have challenged them all, but so far I have not won one. Every failure shakes my heart. Smiling, he took a freshly made bowl of ramen, and Ryosuke asked doubtfully, then, have you thought about giving up? No. Lock Lee replied without thinking, but quickly changed his words, not yet. I don't know if this kind of life continues, whether I can persist, whether I can succeed. Then have you ever thought about finding a teacher for yourself? If you only rely on your own groping, your chances of success are not high, but if someone is willing to guide your practice, the progress will be completely different. You will successfully become a ninja, the probability will be much higher. Ryosuke suggested. The teachers at school can't teach me martial arts anymore. Wait, you want me to go to Might Guy Jainin? Originally, Lock Lee also planned to say that there were no teachers in the ninja school who were intensively trained in taijutsu, and they only knew the basic konoha fluid technique, so there was no way to guide him. But when he thought of the Jainin that Ryosuke said just now, he quickly realized something. Every morning, before the sun rises, Might Guy Jainin will first practice for a period of time near the Death Forest to warm up, and then start the day's mission. Ryosuke looked at him with a half-smile, but the Death Forest is too dangerous for you now, there is an abandoned training ground next to it, you can wait for him there. As for Might Guy's specific appearance, it's a tight green suit and thick eyebrows. Not afraid that because of his meddling, Might Guy will not accept Lock Lee as his apprentice. In addition to the characters known in the plot, in real life, Ryosuke also collected the character traits of all Jainin in the village through Hyuga's information chain. Might Guy's character is relatively straightforward, and he is even more innocent among ninjas. Of course, he is only innocent to his companions. Now that he has been in contact with Lock Lee, Ryosuke believes that as long as he shows the part of his character to Might Guy will most likely guide his training for the sake of the same village. Apprenticeship is only a matter of time. Facing the information he gave, Lock Lee hesitated. Why do you know so much? And why did you help me? The chance encounter this afternoon, the same age as Hyuga Ryosuke in front of him, gave him a strange feeling, as if everything was under his firm control. Including that I will come here to eat noodles with him, and that he will become interested in Might Guy Jainin. There is no need to doubt, our meeting was just a chance meeting, maybe it was an arrangement of fate. Ryosuke seemed to see through his inner thoughts, and said with a smile, let me introduce myself again, my name is Hyuga Ryosuke, I am the clan of the Hyuga clan, and the man who will be the next head of the Hyuga family. The reason I know so much about Might Guy is because I collected his information on purpose. I am very concerned about his achievements in physical arts. After all, our Hyuga family is a family that mainly focuses on physical arts. As for why I should help you. Speaking of this, Ryosuke paused, it's just a simple friendship. As I said, I am very optimistic about your future. You may become a powerful ninja in the future. Although there are many people in the village who can invest, but as Ryosuke, there are not many people he can get in touch with at his age. Most of the family descendants can be excluded, whether it is Inoshika Ch, or Uchiha Suzuki in Yazuka Tooth and Abarame Shino. These people have considerable status in their respective families, and they are not lacking in anything. Excessive close friendship and deliberate contact are not a good thing for the Hyuga clan, so Ryosuke didn't get to know them. The more suitable candidate is currently only Lock Lee. He was born in a commoner family, and his talent is even more mediocre. In the eyes of others, he is so mediocre. The icing on the cake is not as good as the timely charcoal. This is a good opportunity for investment. After finishing the meal, Ryosuke said goodbye to Rock Lee. Today, the contact with him ends here. If you are too enthusiastic, it will make people feel uncomfortable. When he got home, Hyuga Hayashi was alone in the house. Father. Ryosuke spoke respectfully. I heard from Hinata that you stayed in the ninja school alone? Why, is there anyone you care about among the students in that class? Hyuga Hayashi asked tentatively. There's a nice guy, I got to know him a bit. Ryosuke nodded, not hiding it. Hyuga Hayashi didn't care about Ryosuke calling the students who are already in school kids even though he hasn't gone to school yet. In his heart, Ryosuke is not a child anymore. If you need anything, you can always tell me. Hyuga Hayashi nodded. Instead of asking who the person Ryosuke cared about, he opened his mouth to bear the price he might pay for befriending this person. Do you have any adverse reactions after the vaccination? I feel like I am getting cold, and I have had diarrhea for 4 days. End of this chapter. Chapter 19. Chapter 19 Stupid. Summer nights are a little cold because of the large temperature difference between day and night. However, this drop in temperature will not be felt at all by those who are practicing hard and whose blood is flowing quickly. Strolling into the pitch-dark training ground, what Ryosuke saw was Hinata working hard in the dark night. It seemed that what Niji said in the afternoon stimulated her. According to her father, she stayed at the training ground after returning home for dinner. Fortunately, today is a rest day, and she didn't practice during the day, otherwise she would train like this at night, which would only affect her body. Remember what you told me back then. Ryosuke walked over with a smile, and shouted at her from a distance, because of age, the body has not yet matured, and excessive training will affect the body. Ryosuke. Stopping to run, Hinata panted heavily and smiled at Ryosuke who was walking towards her. You're back. Why, do you care about what Niji said today? Ryosuke came to her side, not too dirty, and sat directly on a big rock nearby. He's right. Hinata looked at Ryosuke seriously and said, as the main family, as the future head of Hyuga, I can't lose to others. I should at least be like him and get the first place in the grade. But Ryosuke didn't encourage her and support her as usual. Stupid, you should be very aware of your talent, otherwise your father won't be disappointed in you. It is very important to recognize your own level. This time, Ryosuke's tone was not gentle, but a very stern attitude. I suggest you better get rid of this idea. School life is just a very short part of your life path. I've said that you will work hard, but I don't mean that you can do it. You can't do this thing. While I know it, I hope you can know it yourself. Although I want you to be confident, I definitely don't want you to be conceited. Don't set your goals too high. Even if you set a goal that you can't achieve, it doesn't make any sense. Hinata has changed a lot recently, but the change in her personality and mentality does not mean that her talent can also be improved accordingly. The unique tempering method of the Hyuga family is specially used to improve the physical fitness of the immature seedlings. Generally speaking, as long as they are willing to work hard, the disciples of the general clan can start to be qualified to practice gentle fist at least 6 or 7 years old, that is, about 1 year after entering the ninja school. But Hinata's progress has been very slow. As the clan, she has poured in many resources, but she only fully mastered the method of tempering this year. According to the current progress, her physical fitness should reach the standard for practicing gentle fist, which may be the same as that of the most ordinary family disciples, that is, she can only reach it when she is 7 years old. With this talent, setting myself the goal of being the first in the grade is a bit overkill. He doesn't want Hinata to turn into a megalomaniac. Hearing Ryosuke's reprimand, Hinata froze the smile on her face and clenched her fists. Aren't you reconciled? Ryosuke stared at Hinata's appearance and easily read her inner thoughts. But there is one thing worthy of praise, that is, even so, she did not lower her head and was not as cowardly as before, which is good. In front of him, Hinata will not pretend to cover everything inside with a cold posture like she is outside. She is real in front of him, and this disbelief is also real. She is really much stronger than before. Hinata opened her mouth to refute something, but after a long time, she couldn't utter a word. If you are not willing, you don't have to listen to my suggestion. The stern expression on his face eased, Ryosuke spread his hands casually, and said with a smile, since you want to be a qualified patriarch, the most important thing is that you need to have your own judgment. It's not that Hyuga said, I hope you can also be the number one in your grade, stabilizer Uchiha, you have to do what he says. It's not that I suggest you give up this idea now and change to another goal. You have to follow what I said. If you have been listening to other people's words and living according to other people's requirements, then Hinata, you will never become a qualified patriarch, you will only become a puppet named patriarch. Hinata, who was still full of blood, was a little unconvinced, and slowly let go of her clenched fists. Ryosuke's gentle words were like a bucket of cold water, drenching her from head to toe, calming her down. He was right. Thinking about it carefully, with her talent, it was basically impossible for her to achieve the physical fitness of Gentle Fist before entering school. It is absolutely impossible to secure the first place in the grade with Gentle Fist. Setting such high goals will only undermine your own confidence. But Ryosuke, if I can't stabilize Uchiha, won't I bring shame on the Hyuga clan? The expression on Hinata's face was a bit disappointed. Father is extremely disappointed in me, if... I think you are thinking too much. Father never thought that you would be able to secure the first place in the grade. Ryosuke did not have a trace of tactful kide, what's more, as a ninja, only force is not enough. Facing her puzzled eyes, Ryosuke explained softly, ninja school's assessment is not only about actual combat, but also a theoretical exam, although most people focus on actual combat, thinking that the first in actual combat is the real first in grade. But you won the first place in the theory test, and it doesn't mean that you can't satisfy your father. At that time, the Hyuga clan will also have an excuse to refute other voices in the village. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and rubbed her hair. Strength is an indispensable factor for a ninja, but you can't pull this head off. You are the future head of the Hyuga clan. Whether it is Genin, Chnin, or even Jainin in the clan, after you officially become a ninja, you can drive it as you like. At that time, even if you don't have the strength yourself, you can still have the power that Jainin has, even multi-digit. You don't have to do it yourself at all. As the patriarch, you just need to take care of the overall situation and plan the future for me, Hyuga, and plan for benefits. Then you can convince the crowd and sit back and relax. Hinata widened her eyes and listened in a daze. This was the first time she knew about it, and it was also the first time someone mentioned it to her. She cannot focus on the pursuit of power. You know, there are military advisors and Hokage advisors among the senior management in the village. Ryosuke looked at her with a chuckle, and stretched out his other hand unconsciously, pinching her cheek. Hinata nodded. The military advisor in the village is currently held by Jainin of the Nara clan, and the Hokage advisors are the two elders of the same period in the third generation project, Mitokado Homura and Udaten Koharu. It's not bad. It seems that in addition to the blind training recently, you have also eavesdropped on a lot of things I discussed with my father. Ryosuke looked at her with a half smile, but didn't say much, just reminded that what they said should not be disclosed to people outside the family. Now that you know, it should be clear what their job content is. In fact, strictly speaking, they are the same as you, except that they govern the entire village, plan for the benefit of the village, and live and die with the village. And you, the future patriarch of the Hyuga clan, think for our clan, so you don't have to underestimate yourself just because you have no talent in actual combat and cultivation. There are many ways to become a ninja. Some people specialize in illusion, and some specialize in ninjutsu or body arts. These are all different paths. As the head of the family, there are many ways to manage and serve the crowd. Father's method is different. It must apply to you, you have to find your own way. Under the bright night sky, Ryosuke and Hinata sat down on a large rock in the training ground. One person speaks seriously, and one person listens carefully. End of this chapter. Chapter 20. Chapter 20. 1 year whizzing with the sound of piercing through the sky, the two black shadows collided and confronted constantly on the flat ground of the Hyuga clan's training ground. 8 trigrams 2 palms. 2 different voices rang out following the confrontation. And as the voice fell, the last Indian knot came out of the mouths of Hyuga Ryosuke and Hyuga Hayashi. The white pupils in the eyes are locked on each other, and chakra surges all over the body, flowing freely in the meridians with the movements of the body, and finally gathers in the palm of the hand, condensing and forming 4 palms. The same moves, the same techniques, but the fighting methods are different, and the order of the moves is also different. Every attack on each other will be resolved and counterattacked. But because both of them were too familiar with 8 trigrams palms, they were in a stalemate for a long time. Nearly 500 strokes failed to hit any of the acupuncture points in the opponent's body, and cut off a trace of chakra circulation. 8 trigrams palms in the gentle fist method of the Hyuga family of secret arts. There are a total of 64 palms, and each palm represents an acupuncture point of the human body. Chakra flows through the meridians in the body, and the acupoints are important hubs connecting the meridians. Hitting different acupoints through the gentle fist method can make the chakra circulation of the human body be staged, and can also give birth to various negative states of the human body, such as dizziness, or short-term loss of consciousness, immobility, and so on. Ryosuke was engrossed in the fight, which was not like the real ninja fights it used to be. There is no strategy to kill the enemy, just a simple frontal battle. But this battle made him more excited and enjoyable, but again, his mind was extremely calm, dodging and parrying Hyuga Hayashi's attacks, and constantly looking for opportunities to counterattack. Whether it is him or Hyuga Hayashi on the opposite side, it is clear that both sides are so proficient in 8 trigrams palms, as long as either side of the two sides relaxes, it is likely to be firmly seized, and a single blow can cause a battle rout. 8 palms, 64 palms. After fighting seriously, Ryosuke, who kept his face expressionless from the beginning to the end, narrowed his eyes, and suddenly tried to change his moves, changing his fighting style during the battle. At the same time as the change, the complete 8 trigrams palms will be played directly without any reservations. Opening the white eyes, and such a high-intensity duel, has a great disadvantage for Ryosuke. Although his physical fitness is based on the blood of returning to his ancestors, he is far superior to his peers. But compared with Hyuga Hayashi, it is still much worse. Physical fitness has not kept up, so of course the amount of chakra is the same. Now that the battle has lasted for so long, Hyuga Hayashi still cannot be won. Although Ryosuke is not in a hurry, if it continues without making changes, it is tantamount to admitting defeat. A bold idea. Facing him, Hyuga Hayashi quickly sensed the change in Ryosuke's movements and gave a compliment. However, his movements were not at all loose because of opening his mouth, on the contrary, he became more vigilant. There is a flaw. Changing one's own fighting style during the battle also means this process, and the 8 trigrams palms played by Ryosuke may have errors and omissions in the fluency. In less than 10 strokes, Hyuga Hayashi caught one of his loopholes, with a stern look in his eyes, and swung his palm towards the acupuncture points on his body. As long as the palm falls, the chakra mixed in the hand will block the flow of chakra in Ryosuke's meridian, then his movements will become slow, and the outcome will be decided. But just when his palm was about to press on Ryosuke, in Hyuga Hayashi's white eyes, the chakra in Ryosuke's body exploded and surged. Revolving heaven. The chaotic moves changed suddenly, and the remaining chakra spewed out from various acupuncture points in Ryosuke's body, forming a spiral chakra cyclone, wrapping him firmly in it. And Hyuga Hayashi, who had already observed this scene with supercilious eyes, had long since given up on the slap just now, and stepped back a few steps to avoid Revolving Heaven's counter-attack. Ordinary ninjas can only transmit chakra through some parts, such as hands, mouth, and feet. But the Hyuga family has white eyes, understands the major acupuncture points of the body, and can transmit chakra from any acupuncture point of the body at will. Revolving Heaven is a secret technique handed down by word of mouth in the Hyuga clan. With the help of the characteristics of white eyes, chakra can be instantly spewed from various acupoints all over the body, forming a spiral cyclone around the body. While resisting the enemy's attack, it can rebound part of the attack. That's it, you don't have enough chakra to fight me, you lose. Hyuga Hayashi closed his eyes, turned his hands behind his back, and looked at Ryosuke, who was panting heavily in front of him. Indeed, I no longer have the ability to fight. Ryosuke also smiled and closed his eyes, and put away his fighting stance. I never thought I could beat you, at least I don't have a chance right now. It has been a year since my physical fitness reached the standard and I formally practiced the gentle fist method. During this year, Ryosuke has learned all the mysteries of the Hyuga clan and mastered them thoroughly. But based on his physical fitness, chakra volume, and chakra's control level, he is still far behind Hyuga Hayashi. In actual combat, there is no chance for him to go all out. It's good to see your strength clearly, so let's stop here today. Hyuga Hayashi nodded, turned, and left. But after walking a few steps, he paused again. Tomorrow you and Hinata will be preparing for school, you two should rest early. After finishing speaking, he left the practice field slowly, appearing extremely calm. And at this time, Hinata, who had been silently observing the battle at the edge of the practice field, took water and trotted to Ryosuke's side to hand it over. You are so good, Ryosuke, you can fight on par with your father. She looked at Ryosuke with some excitement, her tone full of envy. You think too highly of me. There is still a big gap between me and my father. Ryosuke took the water with a smile, and took a big gulp. Now it's time for you to practice. I told you yesterday about the gentle fist chakra operation method, are you proficient? Although after chatting, Hinata has given up such an unrealistic goal. But she still has to work harder. Without damaging her body or affecting her development, she completed her body training a year and a half earlier than expected. However, Ryosuke also helped her to correct the reason for her practice. It's almost there. Facing Ryosuke's question, Hinata whispered, if you can guide me a few times, I should be able to remember. Laughing softly, Ryosuke looked at her helplessly, I told you to draw with paper and pen several times, let your mind remember it first. It will be easier for me to get acquainted if you personally supervise me and guide me with your fingers. Hinata looked at him eagerly. Compared with repeatedly drawing on the picture, she felt that in the process of running chakra, letting Ryosuke slide and guide the way on her body surface with her fingers would make her feel more real. Okay, but I have to rest for a while, my current amount of chakra is difficult to keep my eyes rolling. Ryosuke looked at her dotingly, and sat down cross-legged. His flaws are obvious, but it will take time to fix them. Practice is not a temporary thing, but needs to be accumulated over time. Whether it is physical fitness, chakra quantity, or chakra control, although it seems basic and easy to get started, the ends of these roads are far away. Every improvement the process is even more difficult. End of this chapter. Chapter 21. Chapter 21 Enrollment. The base of ninjas in the ninja world is completely different from Ryosuke's previous life. Although there is no detailed census data, there are inaccurate statistics on the approximate population of each country and the famous houses of each country. Among them, the Land of Fire, which has the largest population and the most suitable environment for survival, only has a population of tens of millions. Continuous wars and strife have brought the world's population to its lowest point, not to mention the problems of fertility and population aging. No one will pay attention to these, people in this world do not seem to realize the importance of these issues. Besides, love is not very important in this world. Many people spend their entire lives without finding their own partner. So in this case, Ryosuke has been somewhat looking forward to the start of the ninja school, but there aren't many of them. At least it was completely different from the crowds he saw in his previous life. There were no crowds to pay the bills, and there were no cries of children. There were only 100 or so children at the school gate. Under the watchful eyes of their parents, they reluctantly filled out the form and entered the school alone. Hyuga Hayashi brought Ryosuke and Hinata to the school gate. Instead of queuing up with them, they stood under the tree and watched the children queuing up for school. The same cold face, also wearing a black stand-up collar blouse and black shorts embroidered with fan patterns, two brothers Uchiha Itaki and Uchiha Suzuki. Father and son Akimichi Dingza and Akimichi Chichi, who look obese on the outside, but are actually very strong on the inside. They look fierce, and bring their own ninja dogs, Inyazuka Claw and Inyazuka Fang, mother and son. Noteworthy people appeared one after another, and Hyuga Hayashi had shown them both before the start of school, including their family background. In addition to the information collected by the Hyuga clan, Ryosuke has more information than those information in his mind. Because most of the students in this class are so-called plot characters. They will all become famous figures in the world in the future. But seeing so many familiar people at once, Ryosuke has no emotion, let alone excitement. For 5 years, he has been integrated into this ninja world. Seeing Uchiha Suzuki and Uchiha Itaki, he feels very calm. Students in each cohort will be assigned to 2 regular classes and 1 elite class based on their average scores on the entrance test. The entrance test will start 1 month after the start of school, and the results will determine the class your students will be in the next few years. At this time, Hyuga Hayashi next to him spoke again, but this class is quite special. There is one person who is an exception. He can directly enter the elite class without any tests. Following his words, Ryosuke also saw that familiar yellow-haired kid. Golden hedgehog head, blue eyes like the sky, Uzumaki Naruto, the original protagonist of this world, is the child of destiny and the chosen one. Uzumaki Naruto stood there, so conspicuous, that he could see it at a glance. In fact, he was extremely ordinary both in appearance and temperament. But because of the influence of other people around them, they are deliberately staying away from him and keeping a certain distance. No one answered him, no one talked to him, and no one looked at him. Everyone thinks he doesn't exist, but how can a person standing there not exist? So on the contrary, because of this kind of treatment, his existence is extremely eye-catching. Uzumaki Naruto, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, who is also a child of 4th Hokage, is a special case who can directly enter the elite class without taking an entrance test. Hyuga Hayashi's flat voice sounded, I have all the relevant information in the materials I gave you, and I have specially marked this child. About the information I gave you, the 2 of you must not disclose it to other people in the village. During the process of studying at school, don't get close to him, and don't get too close to him. His existence is very sensitive in the eyes of konoha executives, do you understand? Clear. Ryosuke and Hinata answered in unison. But Ryosuke didn't really care about Hyuga Hayashi's seriousness, he knew what to do. To be honest, the Uzumaki Naruto in front of him is a little different from the person in his heart. I thought he would be an optimistic, especially familiar person. It's the kind of temperament that even if others ignore him, he will have the cheek to take the initiative to strike up a conversation with others. But maybe the encouragement from 3rd generation is not enough for him now, and his temperament has not become so cheerful. Everyone has almost gone in, so you should go too. Seeing that most of the queue had been reduced, and many children had already filled out the forms for enrollment, Hyuga Hayashi signaled that the 2 of them could also pass. Ryosuke nodded, just about to hold the hand of the girl next to him. But since going out, Hinata, who has become expressionless, walked to the gate first, and her small figure looked very imposing. Smiling and following behind Hinata, Ryosuke was quite moved and relieved by her performance. As the clan of the Hyuga clan, the appearance of the 2 of them attracted the attention of the parents who had not yet dispersed. Especially Uchiha Itaki, he took a serious look at the 2 of them before turning back and leaving. However, Ryosuke noticed that his main attention was on Hinata. It seemed that because of her cold appearance, she gave people a very uncomfortable feeling. Nothing happened and no one talked about it other than getting some attention. With the enthusiastic help of the 2 teachers, Ryosuke completed the form and officially enrolled. Now, they need to gather in the small playground of the school to listen to the speech of the school principal, 3rd Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen is not only the shadow of the village, but also part-time head of the ninja school, same as his teacher Senju Tobirama. As for the content of the speech, it goes without saying that Ryosuke has already guessed it. But the process that should be followed still has to be followed. People from other families have not refused. If the people from Hyuga do not follow, they will appear to be a bit of a maverick. The playground of the ninja school is not as huge as the training ground, it is about the size of 2 basketball courts. However, there are only 100 or so children gathered together, so it doesn't look crowded. With a cold face, walking in front with his head up and chest out, Hinata looked very imposing under the blessing of those white eyes. Although she was the last to arrive, as soon as she approached the crowd, the other children consciously moved out of the way and let her go to the front, in a row with Uchiha Sasuke. Ryosuke, who originally planned to fish in the last row, had no choice but to follow her to the front. But that's good too, everyone focused on Hinata, and didn't pay much attention to his married husband. Hyuga Ryosuke. It's a pity that the thought had just arisen when a voice suddenly sounded beside Ryosuke. Turning his head, what he saw was a face that was immature, but with exquisite features, which looked extremely brilliant under the sun. Yamanaka Ino. End of this chapter. Chapter 22. Chapter 22. The beginning of love. Ryosuke did not enjoy the benefits of class and power when he entered school in his last life, but in this life, he felt it very clearly. Whether it was the teacher who filled out the form at the gate just now, or the teacher who guided them after entering the school, they were all extremely enthusiastic and concerned. Now, when they come to the playground, they also receive special treatment. And this kind of treatment is not given by adults, but by these children. The seats on the playground are not distinguished by name and are first come, first served. But even so, those students who lined up earlier sat silently in the back. Only the children of Ryosuke's family would come directly to the front rows. Like now, the front is Hyuga, Uchiha, Sarutobi and other big families. Then there are Yamanaka, Nara, Akamichi and other subgroups. Then came some small families, or ninja families, and then ordinary civilians. Without the influence of adults, these precocious children are very conscious of distinguishing levels. Hyuga Ryosuke. A suspicious voice sounded beside Ryosuke, and when he turned around, he saw Yamanaka Ino, whom he had met once in the park, sitting behind him. Hello. Ryosuke nodded politely and responded to her inquiry. Immediately afterwards, she looked away slightly, and said hello to Nara Shikamaru, Akimichichi and Harino Sakura who were next to her. The four-person group seemed to have a good relationship, and even Harino Sakura, who came from an ordinary ninja family, also mixed into the front row. Sitting next to him, Hinata was obviously more familiar with the four of them than Ryosuke, and also turned his head to say hello. Occasionally I heard Hinata mention you, but except for that time in the park, I have never had the chance to meet you, nor have I had the chance to get to know you. Ino said heartily, very familiar. I'm sorry, the practice plan that my father made for me is always not completed on time, so I can only use the rest day to catch up with the progress. Ryosuke spoke casually, making up a random reason. He has been hiding at home, and even on rest days when there is no practice task, he doesn't go out often. But Hinata is different. On her days off, she occasionally goes out and wanders around the village. On the side, Shikamaru narrowed his lazy eyes halfway, and asked, even the rest day is needed to catch up with the progress, the Hyuga clan should be very strict with you, right? Yes, my father is very strict with me. Ryosuke nodded, smiling kind, he hoped that I could make up for Hinata's deficiency and be a sword in her hand. Really? Shikamaru withdrew his probing gaze. He is no stranger to Ryosuke. That far-off look at Park made a deep impression on him, and he always felt that this person was not simple. Regarding the information given by the family, Hyuga Ryosuke was chosen by Hyuga Hayashi to be his son-in-law because of his good talent. Just now Ryosuke replied casually, he thought this guy was trying to hide his clumsiness, but it seems that he is too sensitive now. Just a child, what is there to hide? The smile on his face remained unchanged. After answering Shikamaru's question, Ryosuke chatted with other people casually, wanting to enhance the friendship between future classmates. Talk about some teachers in the school, and talk about some plans after graduation. Hinata was by the side, interjecting from time to time. But most of the time, he still maintains the silent posture of not speaking and pretending to be a master. Surrounded by the children of the family, watching a small group chatting on their side, they opened their mouths one after another, and followed the conversation to insert into the topic. Compared with the happy atmosphere on their side, Uchiha Suzuki seemed to be excluded and alone, only one seat away. He didn't take the initiative to speak, and the other people beside him didn't take the initiative to talk. On the way, Ryosuke took time to observe. For such an atmosphere, Suzuki, who was still a child, was obviously not used to it. Although he pretended to be cold, some subtle movements of his body carried a hint of anxiety. Master Hokage is here. This atmosphere lasted until someone yelled at the back, and the group of people discussing quietly around Ryosuke fell silent. Dressed in a red shirt, a white robe, and a Hokage hat. A slightly stooped figure was strolling from the gate of the playground, along the steps to the high platform in front of Ryosuke. Sarutobi Hiruzen. On the wrinkled face of the old man Madara, those cloudy pupils scanned the crowd below. It is not the first time Ryosuke has seen Sarutobi Hiruzen in the 5 years since he came to this world. As Hokage, he often attends various activities in the village, and even occasionally visits Hyuga's house. But this is the first time he has observed Sarutobi Hiruzen up close in such a long time. To be honest, the first feeling he gave Ryosuke was not very imposing or powerful, but very old. Really, so old. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who is already in his 60s, is much older than many old people of the same age. The crooked body is a bit thin, because the various functions of the body have begun to age and degenerate. If Ryosuke understands the plot and knows that Sarutobi Hiruzen can at least live until his disciple Orochimaru comes to kill him, he would feel that this guy is he going to die tomorrow? The pressure the village put on him had already overdrawn his life ahead of time. It's hard to imagine how he could live until Naruto graduated, lived until Orochimaru launched an invasion plan against Konoha with such a body, and even had the strength to fight Orochimaru. I am Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third Hokage of Konoha village, and also the principal of this school. A hoarse voice sounded, and the smile on his face was very kind. Sarutobi Hiruzen introduced himself first, scanning the crowd with his eyes as he spoke. Under Ryosuke's observation, he paused for a few seconds on Uchiha Sasuke, Hyuga Hinata, and Shikamaru respectively, and then quickly moved into the rows behind the crowd. Naruto, you come to the front. Without directly starting his speech, he spoke suddenly and shouted to Naruto, who was alone in the last row of the crowd. The whole playground suddenly fell silent, and everyone turned their heads and focused on Uzumaki Naruto in the last row. These gazes are complex, some with hatred, some with doubt, and more with disdain. And in the last row, Uzumaki Naruto looked a bit overwhelmed. Come and sit in front, you can hear better in front. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved to him kindly. Immediately afterwards, Uzumaki Naruto stood up with some trepidation under the gaze of so many eyes, and under the complicated eyes of the crowd. He took a chair to the front row and sat down next to Uchiha Sasuke. You should be behind me. In this case, Uchiha Sasuke's focus is odd, something Ryosuke didn't expect. Do you want to fight for the first place at this time? Just one seat. But then, Ryosuke could clearly sense a change in Naruto's mood. The eyes of the two met in the air. Uchiha Sasuke's eyes were full of disdain and arrogance, while Naruto was puzzled. Then, his eyes moved to the side, scanning everyone in the front row, and then he was stunned. Don't you feel hatred and alienation from Uchiha Sasuke, and from us? Ryosuke guessed the reason for his daze. With the Uzumaki family in his blood and 9 tails in his body, Naruto is born with a strong perception ability and can detect the hostility of people around him. End of this chapter. Chapter 23. Chapter 23 The Will of Fire. Sarutobi Hiruzen talks to a group of kids on a high platform. Below, most of the students heard their blood surging one by one, wishing to sacrifice their lives for the village immediately and make a great event with great vigor and vitality. Of course, Ryosuke is definitely not included among these enthusiastic students. Although he looked very focused and serious on the surface, he felt extremely boring inside. Regarding the development concepts and thoughts of Konoha village, maybe he knows more details than Sarutobi Hiruzen described above, and even he can tell the effect of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Regardless of past and present lives, this kind of seemingly solemn speech is actually nothing more than words that inspire and gather people's hearts and share their own ideas. It is different from the previous life, those words of reading books for the rise of the country. The current political philosophy of Konoha village originated from Konoha first Hokage, the idea advocated by second Hokage Senju Tobirama, the will of fire. The general idea is to abandon the family and individual units and focus on the village. Whether it is a big or small matter, regardless of the country or self, everything is for the development and future of the village. The reason for the emergence of this idea is to solve the hidden dangers left by the hasty establishment of Konoha village. Konoha village used to be a very complicated force. In fact, whether it is Konoha village, or Cloud Shinobi village and Tsunagakura in other countries, it is actually the same. During the Sengoku period, although the entire ninja world was also based on countries, wars were carried out more within countries. At that time, whether it was the country of fire, the country of water, or the country of earth, there was no so-called ninja village inside. All ninjas use families as military units, which also leads to extremely serious disputes within each country. At the end of the Sengoku period, the Uchiha and Senju clans, the two most powerful clans in the Land of Fire, formed an alliance to establish a village and accommodate countless families who were willing to defect. Other countries followed suit and established their own ninja villages. From that time on, the Sengoku period officially ended and entered the Five Great Nations period. The war has changed from within each country to a confrontation between countries. And such a development process means that the forces within Konoha village are not harmonious. Everyone used to be enemies, but now they are forcibly united by force and the situation, and no one will obey the other. It can be said that friction between the various families in the village is a common occurrence. At that time, the interior of Konoha still maintained the idea of the Sengoku period, where the strong are respected. So, when the war was briefly over and there were no distractions from foreign enemies, there was an event in this village where Uchiha and Senju competed for the position of Hokage. At that time, first Hokage had realized that the village could not develop with the idea of respecting the strong, otherwise the village would probably fall apart due to internal strife, but Uchiha Madara, who founded Konoha with him, was always stubborn. There is no way, they can only become enemies. After this incident ended, Konoha's first Hokage passed away, and Senju Tobirama inherited the second Hokage, and also inherited his big brother's idea. The strongest Uchiha Madara of the Uchiha family has been solved by his big brother. Senju Tobirama, as the strongest in the village, has the absolute right to promote this idea. It was also at this time that the will of fire truly appeared in Konoha village. This is the reason, origin, and development of the idea of the will of fire. Now that decades have passed, this idea has been firmly implemented by Konoha's senior management, and many families have also given up the idea of using ethnic groups as units. The most obvious of these is the Senju clan. Nowadays, very few people call themselves the Senju clan. Part of the reason for this is that most of the Senju clan died in battle, but more of the reason is that they do not exclude intermarriage with foreign races and gave up their surnames. The Senju clan has been fully integrated into Konoha village. 10 years after the establishment of Konoha, the Senju clan set an example by giving up the so-called surnames and reducing the wariness among the clans. All Senju children born after that year did not bear the Senju surname, including Tsunade, one of the Konoha Sunin, and later her younger brother Nawaki. As the immediate relatives of Senju Hashirama, they did not identify themselves as Senju because they gave up their surnames. This information was learned by Ryosuke from the information of the Hyuga family after he came to this world, and it was not recorded in the plot of the previous life. After talking for more than an hour, Sarutobi Hiruzen ended his tirade. However, he didn't dismiss the meeting immediately, instead he asked Naruto, who was full of fighting spirit, with a smile on his face, what he wanted to do in the future after hearing these words. So what to do? Perhaps the idea of becoming Hokage was planted from this time. He didn't talk to any student in particular, except for Naruto. Sarutobi Hiruzen treated everyone equally. After the speech was over, the school teacher who had been waiting on the edge of the playground began to lead the students into the classroom. After coming to the classroom, either by the window or by the front, Ryosuke went straight to the last row and took a seat. In order to avoid blocking the view of the students in the back row, the layout of the classroom is a row of positions in a ladder, showing a hierarchical layout. And the place with a wide view in the last row is the highest place in the entire classroom. He can completely take the entire class into his eyes, and can easily observe everyone in the entire class. You don't have to follow me all the time. You definitely need to make some friends when you study here. Seeing Hinata obediently sitting in the last row with him like a little daughter-in-law, Ryosuke spoke softly. It is good. Turning her head to look at Ryosuke, Hinata thought for a moment, didn't say any hesitant words, and agreed directly, went to the front, and sat down next to Ino among the girls. To have a mind of her own, Hinata keeps remembering every word of Ryosuke. Personally, she wanted to sit next to Ryosuke because it was her habit. But considering the identity of the future patriarch, she should have social relations and establish a good relationship with the future of these villages. Smiling and looking at Hinata, who was completely different from what he remembered, Ryosuke had a gratified smile on his face. But soon, he turned his attention to other people, observing everyone who entered the class. Because the entrance test has not yet been conducted, there is no special division of the class, and the class is divided directly according to the order of the seats just now. But even so, people from Ryosuke's family were still assigned together. Among them, there are several ninja families who are lucky to be part of them, such as Harano Sakura. If nothing else, that's all the people in the elite class in the future. Unless there are really talented students like 4th Hokage and Namikaze Minato in those ordinary classes. Can I sit here? A cautious question sounded from the side, and when Ryosuke turned his head, he saw that kind of disturbed face. End of this chapter. Chapter 24. Chapter 24. I want to be Hokage. In the last row of the classroom, after Hinata got up and left, Ryosuke was left alone. Although there are quite a few students, the classroom occupies a large area, and the seats arranged can accommodate hundreds of people. Most of the students gathered in the front, in groups. Of course, there are also those like Ryosuke who like to sit in the back row, or like to be alone in the row. Uchiha Sasuke, for example, sat alone in the row by the window and didn't want to be with other people. Sit, you can do whatever you want. Looking at the disturbed face next to him with a chuckle, Ryosuke replied casually. Uzumaki Naruto. I didn't expect him to come to the last row. But that's right, his current personality is a little different from that in the plot, and he hasn't become so cheerful and mischievous yet. Now he is just an ordinary child who has been rejected by the outside world for a long time, and is extremely bad at speech. Thank you, my name is Uzumaki Naruto. People are very polite. Uzumaki Naruto thanked him. After sitting down, he introduced himself first, and then waited curiously for Ryosuke's reply. My name is Hyuga Ryosuke. Ryosuke nodded to him gently, and also announced his name, then lowered his head, picked up the ninja manual that was prepared under each desk, and started to read. On the side, Uzumaki Naruto looked like he wanted to continue talking, but he didn't dare. He didn't speak, and although Ryosuke could see that he had something on his mind, he didn't take the initiative to talk. Too much contact with Uzumaki Naruto is not a good thing. Since he came to sit next to him just now, Ryosuke can feel a feeling of being watched in the dark all the time. As for why Ryosuke didn't refuse Naruto's seat and drove him elsewhere, it is because there is no need. Ryosuke intends to hide though, until he has enough strength to keep himself safe. But hiding does not mean that he really turns himself into a pig in the eyes of others, nor does it mean that he wants to avoid all dangerous people, so it is a bit too deliberate. Going with the flow, being a normal person in school is the best disguise. After holding back for a long time, seeing that Ryosuke ignored his plan at all, Naruto finally couldn't help but said, "That, don't you hate me?" "Hate you?" Ryosuke stopped flipping through the books, turned his head in confusion. "Why should I hate you?" But his rhetorical question stunned Naruto instead. "For a long time, I couldn't tell why." "Yeah, why hate yourself?" This question has often surfaced in his mind since he could remember, but no one has answered him. There seems to be no reason for everyone's disgust and rejection of him. But now, Naruto is puzzled. The kind of repulsion and disgust that almost everyone would have towards him since he can remember has disappeared, and it has disappeared from many people in this class. Among them, this tablemate with a warm smile was also included. "Please be quiet, everyone." And just when Naruto was stunned, a young man wearing a chinin forehead protector and a scar on his face walked in from outside the classroom. "Let me introduce myself first, my name is Umino Irika, and I will be your teacher for the next month." Theory teacher. Disgust, repulsion, or even hatred. Naruto clearly felt the same feelings as many villagers from the teacher on the podium. Like him, I can feel it, and he hates me. Speaking again, Naruto's voice was very subtle, but full of puzzlement and grievance. "But from Ryosuke, I don't feel that. Why do they hate me for no reason, but you don't?" Keeping a close eye on Ryosuke, there are many students in the classroom who have no ill will toward him. But for some reason, he found Ryosuke. Perhaps it was because of the gentle smile on his face, which gave him a feeling of being close and easy to talk to. "I have no idea." Ryosuke shook his head apologetically. "However, I suggest that you ask Lord Third Generation. As the Hokage of this village, Lord Third Generation knows many things in the village. I saw the way Lord Third Generation called you on the playground just now. You should have a good relationship, right? You can ask him." After speaking, he clearly felt that the consciousness that had been spying on him seemed to be a little emotional. But Ryosuke didn't care at all. He had already guessed that the person spying secretly was Sarutobi Hiruzen. Regarding Naruto's identity and background, the senior officials in the village all know about it. As the son of the fourth generation and the son of a hero, no one who knows the truth will reject him. And in this classroom, many are the future heirs of various clans. They naturally understand this matter, so Naruto can't feel any malice from some students in this classroom. But of course Ryosuke couldn't tell him that, and he didn't want to comfort him. He didn't want to raise his vigilance in Konoha's high level because of this matter. As for this matter, Sarutobi Hiruzen and the others planted the cause of the high-level Konoha. Let them solve it themselves. Naruto nodded thoughtfully, seeming to take this matter to heart. Standing on the podium, Umino Irika said to all the students with great experience, "Although some people may leave this class because of the test results after a month, according to the usual practice, please introduce yourself first. Start according to the seat, we will come one by one." With a warm smile on his face, he signaled everyone not to be nervous. "Name, age, dream, you start from these aspects." And with his words, the first day of school officially began. The first person to introduce himself was sitting in the front row, a ninja from the Sarutobi clan, and his dream was to become Hokage. After he introduced himself, Iruka gave affirmation and encouragement very gently. The second is a ninja from the Mitarashi clan, followed by Inyazuka Kaiba and Abarame Shino. One after another, Ryosuke could clearly feel that as he got closer, the subtle movements of Naruto beside him had revealed his inner tension. It's a very good dream. Medical ninja is also a very respectable profession, so the next one is. On the podium, Iruka recorded the information of the previous student with a smile, and just set his sights on the next student, his smile suddenly subsided and he became expressionless. But for this kind of situation, Naruto was obviously used to it. He clenched his fists and stood up. My name is Uzumaki Naruto and my dream is to become Hokage. Naruto is not the only one who speaks of the dream of becoming a Hokage, but only when he speaks out, people pay special attention. In the class, those who didn't know the truth let out a sneer. They didn't speak, but their laughter was extremely harsh. Really? Iruka didn't stop the smiles of these people, and muttered something casually without recording it, and set his eyes on Ryosuke. Hearing neither encouragement nor response, Naruto clenched his fists and sat down silently, bowed his head and said nothing more. My name is Hyuga Ryosuke and my dream is to become a great ninja. Without a particularly lofty goal, Ryosuke replied casually after getting up, and then sat down again. A great ninja. Ryosuke's dream is very vague. It seems that he still doesn't know what he plans to do in the future. Iruka returned to the gentle smile just now, and after joking, he recorded the information about Ryosuke. But then, he said again, the seat in the front is more suitable for listening to the class. Would you like to sit in the front, Ryosuke? All of a sudden, Ryosuke could feel the lowered head of Naruto next to him. No, thank you teacher. Ryosuke smiled at Kide, I prefer the position I chose myself. End of this chapter. Chapter 25. Chapter 25 Extraordinary What is Dream? On the first day of school, there were no classes in the school. Iruka just asked them to introduce themselves, and let them leave. Back home, when Hyuga Hayashi was at school, Iruka also asked Ryosuke and Hinata about their dreams. As said in school, Hinata's dream is still to become a qualified patriarch. This is her real thought. And Ryosuke's answer is different from the dream he said in school. My dream is to have enough strength to protect myself and my family early on, and then improve myself in an ordinary way. Ryosuke said with a smile, this is his true thought. However, his answer obviously made Hyuga Hayashi very dissatisfied. Frowning, Hyuga Hayashi stood up from the chair and looked down at Ryosuke, is this, your idea? Your goal? His tone of voice was harsh and questioning. For Ryosuke, he has given countless attention and high hopes, and even in his heart, he has put Ryosuke in a higher position than the family. If you had to choose between Ryosuke and Hyuga, Hyuga Hayashi might choose Ryosuke. The reason is that in his heart, the influence of Ryosuke's blood has surpassed that of the current Hyuga clan. Ryosuke alone is worth the entire Hyuga. But now after hearing about Ryosuke's ordinary dream, he is very dissatisfied. It should not be his dream. As Hyuga's future, his dream should be bigger and more expansive. Do you want to waste your ancestral blood? Hyuga Hayashi had never had a serious face on his face. Ryosuke, with your temperament, it is impossible to only have such a boring dream, tell me what you really think. Apparently, he didn't believe this was what Ryosuke really thought. He felt that Ryosuke was hiding his clumsiness again, hiding his clumsiness from his father. On the side, Hinata put his hands behind his back, tightly entangled. This is the first time that Ryosuke's father has been so strict with him since he came to this house. He is angry. That's what I really think. But Ryosuke always maintained an unchanging smile and a calm posture, as if he didn't feel Hyuga Hayashi's anger at all. Confused. Hyuga Hayashi slammed the table, the sound was so loud that the birds in the yard that were parked on the treetops spread their wings and fled. You know the history of our Hyuga. Since the Sengoku period, although we claim to be a big clan, there hasn't been a talented person with both moral integrity and ability in the clan for a long time. Konoha was first built, thanks to the high-strength perception ability of our blood successor Boundary. Our clan has a detached position in the village and has many conveniences. Even to this day, although Konoha's high-ranking officials are wary of our clan, they are far less defensive than Uchiha, but this does not make me happy at all, and even makes me feel ashamed. And about the reason, I think Ryosuke you are clear. Hyuga Hayashi got emotional and spit all over. This unprecedented gaffe made Hyuga Hinata take a step back in fright, and stood beside him in a daze. But at this time, neither of the two people in the study paid attention to her. I am clear. Ryosuke calmly nodded to Hyuga Hayashi, who lost his composure. Since you are clear, then you should understand what you are going to do. Hyuga Hayashi stared at Ryosuke. When Konoha was first built, Uchiha had Uchiha Madara, Senju had Senju Hashirama, Senju Tobirama, and I, Hyuga, couldn't come up with characters that could match them. Later, although Senju was no longer there, Uchiha Madara also disappeared, but the name of Tsunadeji was rumored in the ninja world, and Uchiha even had a character like Uchiha Kagami. Although they are not of the same age, they also have the ability to carry the banner. And I, Hyuga, still couldn't show any characters in those two periods. Nowadays, the Senju family has no successors, and the Uchiha family is still strong. There are characters like Uchiha Itachi and Shisui, and this time, I, Hyuga, finally have someone who can carry the banner, Ryosuke. Yours ambition shouldn't be so short. I can allow you to hide your clumsiness before you are not strong enough, but you must not waste your talent and follow the trend. You should make contributions and make me famous as Hyuga. He clenched his fists and panted heavily. They Hyuga have waited too long for this opportunity. Konoha's defense against them is not as good as Uchiha's, that's because they don't like Hyuga. For a long time, Hyuga has not had a capable person who can carry the banner. Everyone is living on their laurels, including him, Hyuga Hayashi himself. The secret technique of gentle fist 100 years ago is still the same. The white eyes of 100 years ago were still the same before Ryosuke appeared. There was no difference recorded in the long history of Hyuga at all. They insisted on keeping the purity of white eyes, and there was no so-called evolution. Without the white eyes, they are nothing. For 100 years, they have not changed anything other than living on their laurels. But other families are completely different. Regarding this point, the previous patriarchs were all the same. Everyone was anxious, but the anxiety did not change the status quo. But now it was different. The eyes that were recorded in history appeared. Father, you are too excited. Facing Hyuga Hayashi, whose forehead was bulging with veins, as if his eyes had been opened, Ryosuke looked at him calmly, but the smile on his face gradually faded and turned serious. Wanting to live peacefully in this world is not as easy and simple as you imagine. He said slowly, and wanting to have the power to protect your family and yourself is not something that can be accomplished overnight. In fact, after coming to this world, Ryosuke thought about many goals. But in fact, no goal is more realistic than a peaceful and stable practice. In his previous life, he was exposed to materialism. It was an era without any practice, an era of technology. In such an era, when Ryosuke came to the ninja world, came into contact with practice, and came into contact with the so-called chakra, he felt that everything in practice was novel. What is fighting for power and position? What is the 3000 in the harem? It cannot be his dream at all. He could do this kind of thing in his previous life. Even compared to this world, the era when the entertainment industry was developed was far more comfortable than this world. So compared to these, Ryosuke is more interested in spiritual practice. As a reborn person who has built a complete 3-view in a world without demons, no one can understand that when he extracted the first trace of chakra and felt the trace of chakra flowing in his body, the shock and warmth that filled his whole body look forward to. And then, Bun and Gentle Fist allowed him to do many things that he never dared to imagine. This is an extraordinary power, and it is the process of human beings trying to elevate their lives. If Ryosuke is not reborn, but in modern times, got a chakra refining manual. He felt that he might not have the slightest idea of showing himself to others, other than getting up and studying the mystery. At the moment when he came into contact with cultivation and transcendence, his thinking and level had become different. And this kind of difference cannot be felt by people in this ninja world, because they have never felt the era of technology without magic. End of this chapter. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.